self-reflection on mapping my journey to growth in revenue and goal setting. So we are looking forward to having our speakers for today to kind of wrap up things and teach you about the fundamental practices so that you can execute them in your daily lives. Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Elisa. So how many of you, find the chat really quickly, tell me how many of you were here for day one? Was everyone here for day one? I see so many familiar faces and names. I think most of you were here. So yes, okay, good. Okay, Barbara, you're joining us. That's absolutely okay. It's good to know we've got a few people who missed day one but are joining us for day two. Great. Okay, so you all are in for a real treat today. If you missed day one, we're going to talk a little bit and refer back to some of the things that we discussed in day one, but today we're really talking about action and how you can use tools and really understand how to apply this to your business. So I'm really excited for today's content. I'm Jareth Robertson. I lead the Wake Tech Small Business Center, and I'm thrilled and so thankful for this partnership with the Western Wake Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So Elisa, thank you for the 7 years that you've been a partner with us. It's been a real honor. All right, so a few quick logistics. We are using Zoom Teams. You all are muted, so if you can stay on mute and you can turn your camera on if you'd like. It's nice for our presenters to see faces and collect energy, so feel free to turn your camera on as you see fit and use the chat for talking back and forth. So keep that mic muted and we'll use chat for communication. Those are our big logistics things. We'll take a little bio break here in between sessions. So no, we'll build in some time for that. But if you need to get up, go grab a cup of coffee or something and come back, you can just leave your Zoom open and then just come right back. All right. So we are going to jump right into hearing a little bit from Dr. Moore. Elisa, I'm going to turn it back over to you to introduce Dr. Moore, and we're going to jump into day two. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much. And I am super excited to have Dr. Moore back with us today. I'm going to go over her bio quickly for you. So Dr. Tammy Moore is a licensed clinical psychologist and North Carolina Board Certified Health Services Provider. She is the founder and CEO of Western Wake Counseling and Psychological Services, PLLC, in Cary. Professionally, in her psychology private practice, she treats individuals, couples, and families, helping them to clarify their feelings, develop goals, and to create a plan of action to achieve those goals. Dr. Moore is a Louisiana native who moved to Cary 18 years ago from Chicago. She's earned her bachelor's degree from Louisiana State University, a master's degree from Xavier University in New Orleans, and a doctorate in counseling psychology from Loyola University in Chicago. She completed her psychology internship at Duke University. She's also served as a clinical faculty member of the School of Counseling graduate program at UNC Chapel Hill for over 10 years. She's very passionate about her professional and personal endeavors, and she is just amazing, and we are looking forward to hearing another word from her as she kicks off today's event. Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was putting good morning in the chat to everyone just to test it out a little bit. Good morning, and thank you so much, Elisa, for that introduction. I also want to thank Cherith and the Wake Tech Small Business Center team for this invitation. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here just for this little while. As Elisa said, this is our Financial Fortitude Day 2 workshop. I am Tammy Moore. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I'm also a business owner, a small business owner. Interestingly, I love the work that I do. I see myself as a psychologist first. However, I rarely ever thought about in the beginning the business owner aspect of it. I think most of us who start small businesses tend to do things that we love to do. We seek autonomy, we seek flexibility, and we go into doing a small business or doing our business based upon something that we love. And I don't know, maybe you guys are different and you're coming at it from the business end first, but a lot of people talk about having a specific interest, and then they, you know, whether they like to make cupcakes or they do accounting or whatever their specialty is, they start out doing that and then they think about the business aspect. So it was with the financial fortitude workshops that my sorority, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and the Western Wake alumni chapter that Tammy mentioned. So I'm really here today, less as a clinical psychologist offering a bunch of information, more as a member of Delta Sigma Theta and talking about this journey that you all are on. So as I mentioned, I always talk about how much I love my work. In fact, I used to joke about if I won the lottery, that I would still do this work. Maybe not every day, but I'd still do it. I'd still come in and do it. In terms of business owner and the things that you learn from the Small Business Center, I am so grateful for these financial fortitude workshops that we have helped to co-sponsor over the past 7 years. Honestly, when I thought about being a business owner, it was really around the time of taxes. And somebody said 941 payroll, like, what are you talking about? Assets, or as a business owner and you're paying staff and then you look down and you're like, oh no, there's not enough money left for me, so that's how, and then even hiring staff, you don't think about a lot of that when you are starting a business. So because of the financial fortitude workshops, I gained so much knowledge. So that's why when Elisa and Chera reached out to me to do this little opening, I thought, great, you guys have given me so much, I definitely want to give back. So welcome to those of you who are new and those of you who are returning, welcome back. On Wednesday, we talked about mindset. If you guys stayed throughout the entire workshop, I'm sure you were just inundated with valuable information. Mindset, again, is the story that you tell yourself about you and about the world you live in. That is your mindset, simply put. And I remember Mia talking quite a bit, or I think it was Marni, talking quite a bit about the growth versus the fixed mindset and just how you come to make meaning of things. For me, I know that whenever I'm in a situation like this, if I'm at a financial fortitude workshop, I definitely have a growth mindset. I am willing to learn. I'm open. I want to receive this information and then see how I can apply this information. However, there are times when I can have a fixed mindset when it comes to maybe my view of the world or where I fit into the world. That might be a fixed mindset. So on Wednesday, I mentioned I'm only here for about 15 minutes or so I called myself the appetizer. So I am the opening act before you have your entree today. And that is going to be quite a bit of good information that you're going to receive from Mia We're going to talk today about charting the path, self-reflection, and mapping the growth. I want to go back just quickly on Wednesday. One of the first things you want to do before you chart any kind of path is to do a self-assessment. And the self-reflection, self-assessment, it's all about you thinking about you and thinking about who you are, where you are, how do you fit in, what are your goals, things like this. So I gave you 3 questions on Wednesday. I said, list 3 things that you're currently working on. It could be in your personal life, it could be in your professional, your family, 3 things that you're working on currently. And then I asked you to list 3 things in your life that you felt proud of. And these were things that you accomplished that you felt really good. And you could say in a very affirmative way, I am proud of me for, And you listed the 3 things. Part of that was to have you understand that you can have things that you're working on and simultaneously be proud of yourself. It's not an either or situation. If you're working on health and wellness and you say, gosh, I want to lose 10 pounds. And, you can also say, well, I don't know if I lost 10 pounds, but I'm very proud of the fact that I stayed hydrated this week and I increased my water intake. Those can exist simultaneously. Finally, one of the things I asked you to think about was in the areas of support. One of the things that I do know personally and professionally as a small business owner is that we tend to be very autonomous. We like flexibility. We can get it done. And it is very difficult, however, for us to ask for help, to ask for support when we need it. So I ask you to list 3 things or 3 areas of your life that you could use some support. And again, when you think about support, think about it in the way, I know that you can do this and you know that you can do this, but it would be nice just to have a little bit of support. So for example, I use that 10 pounds again that you'd like to lose. You could do it all on your own. You could set forth your own goals and objectives, but think about if you had a friend or a partner and you say, hey, would you be willing to walk with me for 15 minutes, a couple times a week? Having that person support you and give you some accountability, it just makes it a little bit easier for you to achieve that goal. So today, as we wrap up this final day of financial fortitude, I want to do the same thing, is to give you some thoughts about getting prepared to receive the information with regard to self-reflection and mapping out your journey. Today, I want you to think about your vision with regard to, what is your heart's desire for your business? I've been doing a lot of work with SAS Institute. A lot of people are retiring and aging out, and people are scared to death, believe it or not, of retirement, because they have no idea what their Act 2 is going to be like. So we spend a lot of time in our sessions thinking about a vision, closing your eyes. What does it look like? So for you and your business, is your goal to have your business become a franchise? Is your goal just to have a certain amount of money in your bank account? Is your vision to be well known as an expert in your area? What is your vision for yourself? And then what is your heart's desire? Often I ask my clients during the day, like, if you had the day off, there was no one calling your name. Okay, no one wanted anything from you. Imagine that today. And your day, the only goal and objective was to please yourself and to have a good time, where you just lost track of time. What would you be doing? What would that day look like? And I can't tell you how many people look at me like deer in headlights, was like, wait, what? I can't even imagine having that type of day. So asking yourself, what is it that I enjoy so much that I lose track of time? Like I look up and I can't believe 2 hours have gone by because I'm enjoying myself so much. When is the last time you've thought about that? And then, people always come up with where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? My husband and I have been married for almost 35 years. And we're at that point now where he's in corporate and he's ready to okay, I got 3 years left. And I'm over here like, I plan on practicing until I can't practice anymore. In fact, I feel like as a psychologist, the older I get and the more life experiences I get, I feel better as a therapist, So I don't see the same vision that he has for retirement. I'm sure we're going to sync it up some kind of way, but we're talking about it. So I want to give you an example of a vision and mapping it out. So I think about, again, this partnership. Cherith mentioned in the introduction that with Alyssa, that Western Wake Alumni Chapter partnered with Wake Tech Small Business 7 years ago. So the vision that we had back then to reach out into the community, to be a source, to bring in women and especially minority people in the community to learn more about owning and starting a business. This goes back to my actual sorority. I just wanted to tell you just a little bit about the founding of our because you see Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and a lot of people think under college, but back in 1913, there were 22 young women at Howard University that had a vision. They wanted to create a sorority that was about public service, and they wanted to do it. During that time, 1913, it was really more, people were forming social organizations, but it was a lot of socializing. But these group of young women decided they wanted to do more. They wanted to go back to their communities and serve. So these 22 young women had a vision. They wanted to go back to their communities throughout the country to serve, to teach school, to help children, to provide knowledge, things of that sort. Well, then they had to start mapping it out. Well, what was going on in 1913 was the Women's Suffrage March. And these women were trying to fight for the right to vote. So these 22 young women, these were African-American women who had a whole nother set of issues with regard to race and gender. So they thought, you know what, if we could participate in this women's suffrage march, that would really get us going. That would be our first public act, and it would let people know that we are serious about what we want to do. Well, they go to the women who are in charge of the suffrage march, and they say, sorry, ladies, because you guys are African, you ladies are African-American, we can't have you in this march because it's going to distort our message for women's suffrage. We just want women's suffrage. And if we bring you in as minority women, that might distort the message. So they said sorry, but they didn't say no. The sorority, those 22 women didn't accept that. They were allowed to march at the end of the march. They were told, okay, we'll let you come in, but you've got to go at the very last, and you've got to be at the end of the march. But guess what? They did it, and they participated, and that was their first act in mapping their journey. So here we are 108 years later, and I just get chills when I think about it. 108 years later, over 350,000 members have been initiated, over 1,000 chapters across the country and a few international. But most of all, we've given over $6 million in scholarships. And this is a vision of just 22 young women at a historically Black college in Washington, D.C., Howard University. But it speaks to when you have a vision and you map it out, look what can happen. And to this day, I'm in the Western Wake alumni chapter. I'm one of the charter members. This month, we will celebrate our 10th anniversary in the Western Wake area. So I'm very thrilled. And this partnership with Wake Tech has been just phenomenal. And we have reached so many women and small business owners and getting this word out. So that's just an example of the vision and mapping it out. Now, self-reflection, that's something that psychologists do all the time. I want to talk to you briefly about what it is that I do in my role as a psychologist. I help people to make change. Nobody comes into my office and says, you know what, Dr. Tammy, I just love everything about my life and there's nothing that I want to do differently. They don't come to me for that. They usually come into my office saying, hey, there's something going on in my life that I want to change. Making a change in your life, a real change, is hard, okay? It is very hard. Sometimes I'll describe it as, one day put your right shoe on your left foot and your left shoe on your right foot, and just do that for about 5 minutes and see how uncomfortable you feel. Or if you're right-handed, grab your left hand and just start writing with your left hand. And that will just demonstrate to you how hard change is. So because of the day-to-day demands of life, Stress can be overwhelming, especially as we look at last year and coming out of this pandemic. We are inundated with stress. So the day-to-day demands can make you feel overwhelming. So I want to share with you, if you've got your pen, I'm going to give you 4 tips that I share with my clients to kind of help them with making change and improving the overall quality of their life. Okay. The first thing that I will do with a client is to help them get inspired. Ask yourself, what inspires you? I'm not giving slides because I only have a few minutes, but what inspires you? What is it that makes you, and it's really challenging because again, most of the people that come to see me, they're feeling pretty low, they're feeling pretty down, they're feeling pretty stressed. So I start out with them with just saying, what inspires you? Let's reconnect with your core values. What do you believe in? I ask them about, do they have any spiritual beliefs? What do they enjoy? What is it that's important to you? So what inspires you? Are you motivated by, I always talk about when you're feeling depressed, because I see a lot of people who have depression. There are lots of antidepressants on the market. There's, Prozac, Lexapro, you name it. But one of the greatest antidepressants is helping someone else. If you're able to pull yourself up and help someone else, whether it's just to roll your neighbor's trash can out to the curb or bring the paper in, when you do that, it is a natural antidepressant. So what inspires you is one of the first things that I'm going to try and help my clients figure out about their inspiration. What builds you up? Who builds you up? Who is it in your mind that you think back? I think about my grandmother who lived to 98. She would just pour in self-affirmation. She would just tell you how wonderful you are. Who is that person in your life that poured into you, that lifted you up? Think about that person. The second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to do similar to what you're going to do in the workshop today, is a self-assessment, okay? Paying attention to the stress response. There's a difference between stress and stressors. Stress is what your body feels. Stress is when you feel the tightening in your chest, or you feel like you can't catch a good breath. Stress is that message that your body receives. Stressors are things in your environment that cause you to feel, as my young people say, some type of way. They cause you to feel out of sorts. What are those stressors? Is it your relationship? Is it your job? Is it your health? Is it your finances? What are the stressors? So you identify the stressors and then look at the stress response in your body to those stressors. The next thing we would do is I would have you pay attention to your thinking. What is that internal dialogue with yourself? What are you saying to yourself? Most of the time, I deal a lot with what I call anxious brains, and anxious brains are overthinkers, overanalyzers. They're great. It's not all bad. They're great accountants and project managers and everything because they can identify what's wrong. And the problem is that it goes overboard in yourself. But think about your thinking. Are you a what-ifer? Are you a woulda, coulda, shoulda? I wish I would have. I could have done this. All of those thought patterns can keep you locked and keep you trapped in one spot. So we would identify oops, sorry about that. That's my little clinic telling me somebody's in the virtual waiting room. Paying attention to your thinking. Lastly, I would talk about actions. What can I do? So one of the main things I want you to take from this is understanding that you cannot help the way you feel. No one should ever say to you, oh my gosh, Teresa, you shouldn't feel that way. Bobby, you're too blessed to be stressed. Betsy, that's not the right way to think. Thinking is not right or wrong, good or bad. okay? You can't help the way you feel, but what you can help is your response to the feeling. So that's what I hope today, as you are doing your self-reflection and mapping out your journey, think about those questions. Think about what inspires you. Think about your stress response and your stressors. Think about your thinking. Are you a what ifer? Do you get analysis paralysis where you can't move because you're thinking so much? And then think about the actions that you need to take or your response to those feelings. I leave you with those little nuggets. And I know that you guys will have an excellent rest of the workshop. I am going to put into the chat my practice website. I am in downtown Cary. I'll put my practice website. I'll put the social media handles that I have. You're welcome to follow me at Western Weight Counseling. If you're ever in downtown Cary, I'm on East Chatham Street in a cute little house with nice shaded trees. And I look forward to the day. Right now, I'm only doing telehealth, but look forward to the day of having people come back in the office. So again, thank you, Elisa. Thank you, Cherith, and thank you all. And I hope that you just really leave here today feeling inspired, encouraged, and just understanding that you can do whatever it is you map out to do. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore. We definitely received lots of what they call golden nuggets yesterday. I'm sure that everyone else did too. And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your morning to share with us those steps to get us inspired, to finding out who builds us up, to doing those self-assessments, to paying attention and thinking about what's going on around you, and then putting it into action. We really, really appreciate you and thank you so much. I am going to introduce our next speaker, and she is the wonderful, wonderful Marni Blythe. She is the business rainmaker, helping entrepreneurs have a clearly defined vision to maximize financial growth while developing healthy, cohesive teams. Marni comes from a long line of entrepreneurs. Her great-grandfather, grandfather, and father instilled in her from a young age the value, joy, freedom, and challenges that come with being a business owner. Marni moved to New York at the age of 18 to attend New York University, and she began her corporate career working with advertising agencies to pay her way through school while concurrently fostering her passion for entrepreneurship when she started her first company for networking events for thousands of young people. Marni was introduced to the entrepreneurial operating system, or EOS, in 2019 when one of her medical weight loss center clients asked if she could provide fractional integrator services. So she delved into the world of this business system and found that it was the most comprehensive and proven system on the market, providing end-to-end solutions with a proven track record. So with over 16 years of history and more than 80,000 companies currently using the tools, EOS is a proven system that consistently helps companies achieve more revenue growth and profit while delivering a better balance of life to business owners and leaders. Over the last 2 years, Marni has implemented the system for multiple clients, including herself, with powerful results. Marni is extraordinarily passionate about helping small business owners and their teams live their best lives. And EOS is an incredible tool to help you get there. It's a great pleasure to turn it over to Marni Blythe. Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. If everybody can go ahead and if you'll turn your camera on so I can see all of your beautiful faces. So I know that you're here and I know that you're ready to learn. What the heck is EOS? Yeah, it's a great book. Exactly. And I'm so excited. Look at all these beautiful faces. I see Becky. I see Rachel, Jackie, Alice, Suzette. I see Cherith. I see Colleen, Keith, Lindsay, Michelle. I see Teresa. I know James doesn't have a camera, but I'm still going to shout you out and say good morning to you. I'm going to butcher this gentleman's name, but I'm going to try anyway. You just changed. Abdisamad, maybe. I see Radhika. I see Lisa Sampier, my girl Lisa. I see Latasia. I see Patricia. I see Suzette. Oh my God, so many faces, girls and guys. I'm so glad to be here. Cherish, thank you so much for the opportunity. Dr. Moore, that was a beautiful, beautiful opening. Thank you so much. And Alyssa, thank you for this beautiful introduction. Are y'all ready to learn today? If you're ready to learn, give me some love in the chat. Let me know if you're ready to learn, if you're excited. You can also give me a thumbs up too. That would be awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna do a screenshot of that because that's cool. Everybody give me a thumbs up and look at the camera and say cheese and thumbs up, yay! Oh, I love it, that's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and we'll pop in and I'm gonna get this thing going. I'm so excited to be here with you again. This is such a pleasure. It's such a joy. It's such a privilege, and I'm so grateful. If you were here with us on Wednesday, you heard a little bit about me. I'm not going to go on too much about me because this is not about me. This is about you. But I heard Dr. Tammy talk about core values, and we are going to do a big deep dive into core values. So let me start off by telling you about my core values. One, I'm a servant leader. I am grateful to have this wonderful partnership with the Small Business Center at Wake Tech. And so I'm here to serve, and I appreciate this opportunity. Integrity, doing the right thing when nobody is looking. That is what we are all about, knowing that you can put your hand on your heart at night and go to bed and know that you did the very best you could and you are aligned. Grow or die, that is why we're here. So congratulations to each and every one of you. You are showing up, you're doing the work, you're ready to grow. It tells me you have a growth mindset for your business. So pat yourself on the back. Go ahead right now. Let me see y'all. Pat yourself on the back. There you go. You're here. Congratulations. Compassion and vulnerability. And we talked a lot about that. My mission is to help entrepreneurs live a better life and to provide relief because it ain't easy, folks. It ain't easy having your own business. I know all about that. So a little bit of housekeeping. We did this on Wednesday. We're going to do it again. I'm going to ask you to give me your full attention. So take a moment now. Go ahead and close those other browsers on your computer. Grab your coffee, shut the door. I'm going to ask for you to be present. I'm going to ask for you to be focused with me, okay? So go ahead and take a moment, shut all that other stuff down. We're not multitasking. We are here. We're ready to learn. I want you to be vulnerable, okay? Be ready to learn. That's a part of that growth mindset. Golden nuggets, there's going to be a lot of them. I'm going to open my fire hose and I'm going to give you so much information, but don't worry. We're all here to help. Resources are available. If you have questions throughout this time together, pop them in the chat. We will address them. We're going to be doing some heavy workshopping today. So get a pen, get a paper, get ready to get your noodle going because we are on fire today, okay? So before we start, I want to do another round of quick introductions. Put your name and put your business in the chat for me so I can see all the wonderful people that we've got here. All right, I'm looking in the chat and I'm waiting to see who all is here. I got Michelle with Kraken Fitness. I've got Lisa Minis. I hope I didn't butcher that. Alyssa Ploger. Awesome. Just keep it coming, you guys. Oh, Nash is back. I've got Colleen, Latasia. Awesome. Okay, and then I want to hear where you are dialing in from. What town are you in right now? Raleigh, Apex, Garner, Raleigh, Holly Springs, Fuquay, Jacksonville, North Carolina. We got the coast, we've got Apex, we got people coming in from everywhere. So this is a great time. We're about to get ready to learn. So let me first tell you about our agenda. I like to prepare everybody. I had a teacher a long time ago who told me when you public speak, you tell people what you're going to tell them. then what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, then you tell them what you told them. So I'm going to tell y'all what we're going to be doing so you'll be prepared, okay? So we're going to talk about EOS this morning, and I love this business system. We're not going to be able to cover all of the areas today because we do have limited time. We're going to focus in on just several of them. But what is EOS, right? So it's called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And I had a business here in Holly Springs for 6 years. It was an 8,000 square foot holistic health and fitness center. I built it from the ground up. And when I tell you that I wish that I had this system then, because I wish that somebody could have come in and given me a playbook and said, Marni, if you follow these simple steps, this is what will happen, right? So I'm going to give you the playbook today. Do you want to get the playbook? If you want to get the playbook, give me a yes in the comments. I'm going to give it to you. So tell me if you want this before I jump in. I want to make sure that you want it. Okay, I think you do. Okay, so EOS looks at 6 different areas of your business. This is developed by a gentleman named Gino Wickman, lifelong entrepreneur, brilliant guy, but it's very, very simple. And we are all about the simplest way to do things, folks. So this is not going to be complex. This is not going to be anything that you've never heard before, but we're going to really dial it down so that you can really adapt it. Okay, so the areas we're going to cover today is going to be vision, data, and traction. And usually for my small business owners, my solopreneurs, those are a really good place to start. Once you start to grow your team, then we can start adding in these other things. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with vision. So vision really is about answering the 8 questions. We're not going to have time to do all of them, but we are going to go through your core values. We're going to go through your core focus. We're going to talk about your marketing strategy, and then we'll get to some rocks on the back end. Okay, so this right here is a free tool. You can get it from EOS Worldwide. It's called the Vision Traction Organizer. This is the first page of it. We're going to talk now about the core values first and foremost. This is the second page of it. And you can download this free BTO at eosworldwide.com. Okay, so let's watch a quick video from Gino Wickman. Does your company have soul? So bear with me one second as I go ahead and I get this video going. And I will stop the share for a moment.
Our latest EOS discovery is that great businesses have what I'm calling soul. Businesses with soul have this X factor, they have this energy, they have this momentum. They tend to have less dysfunction in the organization. They tend to have better retention. They tend to have less symptomatic problems. And so most organizations, unfortunately, don't have this thing I'm calling soul. And recently in a session, it hit me. I've been teaching for 10 years 2 concepts, core values and core focus. And it just recently hit me that it's the combination of those 2 things that is what makes up a business's soul. And the companies that really execute well on those 2 things are the ones that have exactly that. So to give you the formula, core values is just simply your defining and deciding what are the 3 to 7 common characteristics that define who you are as a person. It all starts with the leader and then perpetuating those core values throughout the organization. The second piece is core focus. And core focus is comprised of your purpose or your passion or your cause, whatever you call that thing, but that thing that gets you up in the morning, that gets your blood pumping, combined with your niche, what it is you do well, where you excel. And those 2 things are your core focus. It's when you get clarity around those 2 and discover what they are because they already exist, they're already in you. And then you perpetuate those throughout the organization, aligning everyone with those 2 things, your organization will absolutely have a soul. Now, it's a little scary because aligning everyone means some people don't align with those 2 things and should not be in your organization. And so you've got to make that tough people decision, but you have a great opportunity before you to go out and discover what that is for your organization. Whether you're a startup organization or an organization with 10,000 people or anything in between, I strongly urge you to discover and find out what your soul is. To learn more and download free tools, visit our website.
Awesome. All right, let me go ahead and in here. Bear with me 1 second, you guys. Cool. All right, so let me get back on to here. Play from current slide. Awesome. So, does your company have soul? We're going to talk about that right now. So, we're going to start with core values. Okay, Gino Wickman talked about having soul. You have to define the core values in your business. So, these are the values that define who we are. They serve as a baseline for the decisions we make, the actions we take, and the people we surround ourselves with. Values such as honesty, discipline, family, or religion guide us. They serve as our moral compass, establish priorities. They're the foundation with which we build our lives, and our values remain constant. How we practice or exhibit them may change as we mature. Just as you have values in your personal life, you also need to clearly define your guiding principles in your business. Now, as Gino Wickman said, they already exist in your business, but you probably have never clearly defined them, and we're going to do that today. So, examples of core values. So core values should be specific, but have a big picture feel. Some examples of core values are passion, integrity, community, teamwork, vision. I gave you my core values for our business when we started this presentation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to really start to lay this out. So the benefits, why have these in your organization clearly defined, okay? It defines your culture. It actually will change the way you do business, because when you start making every decision based upon your core values, things start to shift. I talk about when I owned my business, Dragonfly CrossFit and Training Center, and when I hired people into that business, you know, what do you normally hire people based on? What would you think that you'd normally hire people based on? Pop it in the chat for me. How would you normally hire people? What's normally the yardstick for what you normally hire on? What do you guys think? Their resume, their experience? Yes, of course. 100%. I always would hire based on skill set and experience. I never thought, let me hire people based on core values first. Duh, right? Why wouldn't I go ahead and hire first on core values and then on skill set? Because if the people are not a core value match, then nothing else falls into place, okay? So if you do decide that you want to eventually grow your business, you may or may not have team members now, but you want your core values to attract like-minded people to your organization. This is going to weed out employees and customers who are not a fit, and you don't want to work with customers who aren't a core value fit. I know in the beginning, when you're a brand new business owner, you're like, oh my God, I want to work with everybody, but you actually don't. You really want to focus on the people that are a core value match as often as possible. So it can dictate how you review, reward, and recognize employees as well. So let's play a game. This is going to be fun. Southwest Airlines. What do you think their core values are? If you've flown Southwest Airlines, you probably have a pretty good idea. Put it in the chat. What do you think their core values are? Because I think they do a really good job of leading with their core values. So pop it in the chat. Friendliness, fun, absolutely. Okay, so let's look at what their core values are. Customer service. Yes, Keith, that's correct. So above all else, employees will be provided with the same concern, respect, and caring attitude within the organization that they are expected to share externally with every Southwest customer. Warrior spirit, striving to be the best. Servant's heart, follow the golden rule. Fun, loving attitude, being a passionate team player. Wowing our customers, delivering world-class hospitality, being friendly, famous for friendly service. So now that I showed you what their written core values are, and based upon what you know, are they doing business based upon their core values? Tell me yes or no. What do you think? Pop it in the chat for me. Yes. Yes, they are. Absolutely. All right, let's play one more game. Whole Foods. What do you think their values are? Post it in the chat. No ideas on this one? That's okay. Good health. Yep. Wholesome, nutritious options. Quality, raw, Local community support, yep. Quality, yes, exactly. Okay, so these values are the backbone of our company culture and how we aspire to do business every day with you, our supplier partners, customers, communities, and each other. We satisfy and delight our customers. The customers are the lifeblood of the business, and they are the most important stakeholder. Promote team member growth and happiness. We care about our communities and the environment. We practice win-win partnerships. Okay, so again, another example of a company who has clearly defined their core values and they are doing business from there. So let's define your company's core values. Grab that pen and paper. Small set of essential and timeless guiding principles. 3 to 7 is the rule. Less is more. Darn it, I got a typo. They are what define your culture. No two companies are the same. Let's take a few quiet minutes to brainstorm. I want you to write down what are the core values of your business. We're going to take about 2 quiet minutes. When you're done, I want you to pop them in the chat for me. Okay, starting now. About 1 more minute. And don't worry if you couldn't get them all down, that's okay. Okay, I love it. Here we go. Compassion, forgiveness, well-being, education, says Tasha. Alice says health and sustainability. I love that. Alyssa says leave it better, can-do attitudes, results matter. Jackie says connection with your mind, body, and nature. I love this, you guys. I love this. I love this. So, excellence, empathy, and fun, says Lindsay. Perfect. Now, if you haven't had a chance to fully define them, this is going to be part of your homework. Then I want you to figure out where can you publicly put this if you have a place of business. One of my clients, Carolina Family Vision, here in Holly Springs, Dr. Christy and Dr. Adam have it on every computer screen, and we make sure that this is in everything that we do. So I want you guys to take this list, and this is going to be very important in mapping your journey, okay? I love this. Keep them coming, y'all. This is perfect. Yes, yes, yes. This is great. Okay. The next thing we're going to define is your core focus. This is all about creating the soul of your company, okay? So what is your core focus? This is the company's sweet spot. It's a mission statement. Boys, Dr. Stephen Covey calls it the hedgehog concept. Use this to decide every new product, service, or decision. When you have a core focus, it's going to help you to avoid what we call shiny object syndrome. Does anybody know what shiny object syndrome is, and do you suffer with it? Because I used to be like, ooh, look at that pretty, oh, look at that pretty thing. And I would find myself chasing after all different new lines of revenue, you know, for my business, thinking that diversifying my lines of business was smart instead of really narrowing my focus into just a few couple of key things. So this should be obvious to everybody what your core focus is, both inside and outside the company. So core focus is, what is your purpose, cause, or passion? Dr. Tammy said that she loves what she does so much that she would show up even if she won the lottery tomorrow. And I feel the same way. This is what I'm here to do. I'm supposed to be here with you all right now. Okay, so what is your reason for being in your business? This is beyond money. Okay, this is not just about money. Of course, it's always important, but this is about passion, right? Purpose is the reason for you journey Passion is the fire that lights your way, okay? So here are some core focus examples. What do you think Disney's core focus is? Pop in the chat for me. What do you guys think? We'll play a little game. What do you think for Disney? What is their core focus? Joy, family fun, enlightening children. Yes, fun. I love it. Okay, let's see what Disney's one is. Unforgettable experience. Yep. To make people happy. That is their core focus. Okay, what about the company Mary Kay? You guys know Mary Kay with the little pink Cadillac? What is their core focus? Beauty. Help women find their beauty, feeling pretty. Self-esteem, women business. Yep. Give unlimited opportunity to women. Yes, find their power. I love that. Okay, let's play another game. What about Nike? What's Nike's core focus? To just go do it. Yes, I love that. Comfort, find your strength through health, sports. Nothing is too hard. Good job. I love this, you guys. To experience the emotion of competition, winning and crushing competitors. Very tough. Okay. And last, how about Spotify? What do you think Spotify's core focus is? Accessible music. Yes. Okay. Actually, they say is to unlock the potential of human creativity is their focus. I don't know. What do you think about that? All right, here's your checklist for your core focus. Stated in 3 to 7 words. It's written in simple language. It's big and bold. It has an aha effect. It comes from the heart. It's not about money. It's bigger than a goal. My core focus is helping make entrepreneurs' lives better. That is what I do. That is the reason for being. I want you to take a couple quick minutes and I want you to think about what is your core focus and write it down. We'll take 2 quiet minutes. When you feel like you have it complete, go ahead and pop it in the chat. Patricia says to get heard and noticed, being a voice for. Radhika says to empower, educate, and engage. Love these. You guys are doing an amazing job. Keith says connect, encourage, inspire, and motivate. Lisa says to organize your home and simplify your life. Becky is creating small batch branded apparel and merchandise, increasing brand awareness. Oh, I like this, Jackie. Transform life's mundane moments into memorable experiences. Oh, I love this. Latasia, I think this one sounds familiar. To improve outcomes for moms and babies so families can thrive. Yes. And Cherith says these are compelling. It's a great job. I love this. Okay, if you didn't get a chance to finish, that's okay. We'll come back to it. You guys come back to it, okay? So next in our vision and setting this vision is niche, okay? What can you do better than anyone? And I loved this Orville Redenbacher. Like, this is a really, really good example for niche. Like, what do they do better than anybody? Popcorn. Walgreens says they're the most convenient drugstore. I would agree with that. I really like Walgreens. I tend to prefer that over other ones. Ted, my goodness, what do they do better than anyone? Short, powerful talks. And Starbucks, what do they do better than anyone? Well, I mean, it just depends upon, that just jumped by itself, didn't it? Hold on one second, you guys, that was weird. Premier purveyor of the finest coffee in the world. They do coffee pretty darn well. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to define your niche. What do you do better than anybody else in the world? Take a minute now. I love it. What is happening here? My computer is going on its own. Stop it. Oh, maybe it's doing the timings. Maybe that's why. Okay. All right. So when you're ready with your core focus, go ahead and pop it in the chat for me. Or your niche, rather. Sorry. Yes, Latasia says that she does support. That is her niche. Patricia Jones says breathe life into the written message. Rachel says handwritten signage with colorful imagery. Ooh, that sounds great. Becky says branded swag with no minimums for small businesses and startups. So you do swag, branded swag better than anybody else, Becky. I'm sure you do. I'll have to get some swag from you. I want to get a little white visor with my full pocket logo. I'm going to learn to play golf. Very excited about this. So we'll have to talk. All right, keep popping them in as you guys come up with them, okay? All right, so now we're going to get into our marketing strategy. Okay, so this is not tactical, okay? I wanna make sure that I'm really clear about that. So marketing always begins with strategy. I'm gonna say that again. Marketing always begins with strategy, you guys, okay? And that's really, really important because I can't tell you how often I see in like forums and stuff and people say, what's the best tactic to find my people? And I say all the time, the tactic is irrelevant if you don't have a marketing strategy first and foremost. And it begins with target market or your list, which we are gonna do a big deep dive into next session. 3 uniques, proven process, and then your guarantee. So we're gonna go into uniques first. I love this picture of all of these little penguins. And then there is the one that is different. So your sales and marketing efforts will never be effective without an established strategy and goals. One of the most important parts of this is to determine your 3 uniques. This is a differentiator of a business or its value proposition. You may have heard this referred to as the unique selling proposition or your USP. We're going to make it even more simple than that. It's really just what makes your business different, okay? So these also determine what makes your business stand out from the rest and who your competition is. So you will not have any competition when you do this the right way because nobody will ever be just like you, okay? So when you try to be all things to all people, you simply can't win. I remember when I moved here almost 11 years ago, I had a consulting company called Lighthouse Lifestyles. I was a part of BNI, and they said to me, Marni, who's your target market? Who do you want to work with? I said, oh, I do sales and marketing and I can work with anybody. And guess what ended up happening? How many referrals do you think I got when I was saying I work with everybody? 0, because it can't be all things to all people, okay? Choosing your 3 uniques can be as simple as listing out everything that you believe that makes you, your people, and your culture unique overall. This is going to help you to focus your efforts in all aspects of your business. When you know what you're good at, you'll be able to bring the right clients who will choose your services over the competition because you and only you will offer exactly what they're looking for and they will pay you well for what you offer, okay? And that is the best part about it. Okay, so how do we find them? So I'm going to ask you to go out and have some conversations with your current customers and clients after this, but we're going to start workshopping this today. So often it's customers who know what's unique about you the best. They interact with you regularly and they've chosen your products and services over others. So we're going to answer 2 questions. What problems you solve well and what solutions you deliver uniquely. And if you have team members, you can ask them the same questions. And once you've done this, you can compare responses. But I want you to focus on the attributes of what makes you really unique. So the 2 questions I want you to answer right now, oh my goodness, this thing is going crazy. I want you to answer right now is what problems you solve well and what solutions do you uniquely offer? So go ahead and take 2 quiet minutes. And whenever you start to get some answers, go ahead and let's pop it in the chat. I love this. Tasha says, eliminating distracting driving. Hang on 1 second, let me pull this chat out. Eliminating distracted driving while driving so employers save money on insurance. Provide the proper tone to message to affect the receiver and connect with listeners, says Patricia. Radhika, I provide customized physical therapy treatment to solve neck tightness in babies and help them develop normally. Customized one-to-one treatment with patients and accessible tools and access to me 24/7 for guidance. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. These are amazing, you guys. Keep them coming. Rachel does sustainably minded design, marketing, and decor. Jackie does artwork that becomes an experience. Jackie, I want to know more about the artwork that becomes an experience. That sounds awesome to me. Fantastic. Okay, so again, when you are able to answer these questions, this sets you up for success, because when someone says, well, what do you do for a living? You can say to them, well, I help eliminate food cravings and overeating. Or Jackie could say, I explore work that includes shadows, light, and encouraging people to become present in their space. Wow, tell me someone's not going to ask a follow-up question to that. This sounds great. All right, so if you didn't finish this, your homework is, I want you to figure out your 3 uniques, okay? So we've got a little running homework list going. So everybody still with me? Y'all still feeling good? If you're feeling good, go ahead and pop a yes in the chat to me and let me know if I'm ready to move on here. And if you haven't popped it in the chat and you want to, I'd love to see that too. Thank you guys so much for participating and giving me that encouragement. It really helps me to make sure that I'm on point and I am serving at the highest. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. So the next we're going to do is going to be our proven process. This is really, really cool. So do your customers know what it's like to work with you, and are you sure? Okay, so this should be a series of steps that you follow each time you provide service or sell product. It's an illustration of what your customer's relationship looks like. I don't know what is going on with this, y'all. I have a ghost in my computer. It's an illustration of what the customer's relationship looks like from the first day they meet you through the entire length of the relationship. So most companies can define a sequence of events that occurs in each of the different stages where you're working with someone. So for example, you may have an initial meeting to determine the fit, a meeting to define the project scope, and then a proposal meeting and a project launch event, and then an ongoing follow-up to ensure the obligations are being met and achieved. So every time you work with somebody, you probably have a sequence of events that happens from the moment that they become a prospect through the whole process. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? Yes? Okay. What I want you to think about doing is, rather than using a long drawn out explanation to describe these steps, I want to show the sequence as an illustration for clarity. So for example, this is an example of the EOS process map. Now for larger organizations, this is how an EOS process flows. So we would do a 90-minute meeting. We do about us, about you, the tools, the process. Then the next time we met, we would do a focus day. We'd go over the things under that. Then we would have 2 days of vision building. We'd go over all these things. Then we'd come in quarterly. So I've actually taken this and I have sort of reimagined it for the small business owner. But when I sit down with somebody, I can show them from the beginning to the end, here's all the different things I'm going to walk you through. And then that way there's a visual representation of it. So I want you to consider, what are the process steps that you take when you go to work with a new client. So begin by writing this out. We'll just take a couple of quick minutes. Again, just to get some thought starters going here. While you guys do that, I think this is on presentation mode. So, and I think it's doing normal time, the timings that are already, that's why it's doing this to me. Okay, so go ahead, you guys, and just write a couple of things down about your process. Cool. So step one, should be prospect. Step two would be, so just start thinking about that. The nice thing too is that there is going to be a sales process that I'm going to walk you through in our second presentation. So if this feels a little struggle, like you're on the struggle bus a little, that's okay. Don't worry. I'm going to actually walk you through it even in a more deeper way in the next session. So just some thought starters here to get us moving. Okay, the next part we're going to talk about is your guarantee. A guarantee is your opportunity to pinpoint an industry-wide problem and solve it. It can also be thought of as a pledge, a commitment, or a promise. And when customers, clients know they can count on you for specific services the way they expect them, it will put their minds at ease and you help cultivate more business while developing a positive public image. So I was talking yesterday to my little neighbor. She's 9 years old and she wants to start a business and she wants to make money. And so what I was telling her was, you have to define, she wants to do gymnastics lessons. So she gave my daughter Sophia a gymnastics lesson. My daughter's 6. And I said to her, how much money do you want to get paid for this? She says $5. I said, okay, well, how long is the lesson going to be? I said, is it 30 minutes or is it 60 minutes? So she says 45 minutes. And I said, great. You have to clearly define what the expectations are, when you're going into this, right? Like, so people know what to expect. We all feel better when we know what to expect, and having a guarantee will really help somebody to be able to say yes to your product or service. So if we can select a guarantee that addresses these items, it will enable you to win more business. And this is really also going to differentiate you as the best problem solver for a particular concern or issue that customers might face. And again, it's about standing out from that competition, okay? So let me tell you guys some of these examples of guarantees. So Land's End, unconditional returns, LL Bean, unconditional returns, return anything at any time. So, that's definitely going to make somebody feel better about purchasing from them. And I don't think it's any, it's not surprising. It's not a surprise that these companies have been around forever, right? Land's End and LL Bean have been around forever. Sweetness Guarantee, Sam's Club, which is it's Walmart's warehouse membership. So they say, the chain will give you double your money back and refund the original purchase price if the food isn't good. The same thing with Safeway. So I want you to think about, in your business, what, if any, guarantee do you give your clients and customers? So what are the biggest frustrations, fears, and concerns that you hear when people do business with you? So start by writing that down. What are those things that people say when they're getting ready to potentially purchase from you, what are they scared of? What are they concerned about? What do they feel frustrated about? Go ahead and write down some of that, and we're going to work with that. You guys are doing a great job. Such a great job. So proud for all of you doing this work. This is big. It's really awesome. Thank you, Patricia. I love that. Yes, and if you do want to pop some of these things in the chat, that would be great, because this will help you when you come back, okay? And again, don't forget that y'all can download this vision tracking organizer. It's called the VTO, and all you need to go is to eosworldwide.com, and it's the VTO, so you can download that. Yes. Will therapy help my baby? Yes, exactly. And the price. Yes, the guarantee. I stay with you the whole time until your baby is born. I love that. So this is what we definitely want to start to put together as part of this whole package when we're selling our services into people. So perfect. Y'all are doing a great job. Okay, so let's move on to our second component of EOS. And by the way, if you do want to buy the book Traction, this will help you to really also get additional information. And FYI, just a note to self, I'm a big Audible fan, but when it comes to these kinds of books that I'm sharing with you, my suggestion is to get a physical copy of it, because it helps to be able to have it in front of you to study it so that you can work these concepts through. Just my personal preference. So data, let's talk about data. I love data. Jackie, thank you for putting that in the chat with the PDF link for that. So everybody, Jackie did put that in for me. So thank you for doing that. So we're going to talk about scorecard. What is a scorecard? So a scorecard typically has 10 to 15 what we call measurables that you're tracking at any given time. On the right-hand side, you can see an example of a scorecard, okay? And so basically, it's who owns it, and for most of you, this is gonna be you. What is the measurable, okay? So in this example, we have warm leads, receivables, payables, customer complaints, page views, employee absences. We have the goal, and then we have the weekly numbers, okay? Now, when I implement scorecards for my clients in their businesses, I cannot begin to tell you the results. One of my clients, Carolina Family Vision, has grown 36% last year over this year with using this method. So what I'm sharing with you guys, these are the things that multi-million dollar companies use. If you do what I'm telling you to do, you will be successful, okay? I'm telling you this. Of the 10 to 15, 1 to 3 will be the key numbers that really drive your business. Identifying the right numbers is a process of discovery. This can take sometimes 3 to 6 months. If you have people on your team, you're going to start to create your little leadership team, and every single week you will meet and you will go over these numbers. I love doing this in a Google Drive spreadsheet, and I'll show you an example in just a moment. This allows us to make decisions based upon data and not emotions. How many times in your business do you make decisions because you're like, well, I think that's what I should do, or that feels right, right? I don't want you to make those decisions that way anymore, okay? I want you to make decisions based upon data, based upon numbers. And this is really how you become a successful business owner. I want you to know your numbers backwards and forwards. This is the key to success, I promise you. Accountability. This is the other thing. So if you are hopefully doing your profit and loss statements, you might have a CPA helping you. Often you'll get a P&L quarterly. This does not, this scorecard is not a P&L. A P&L does not take the place of this, because a P&L is reactive. You see your numbers and you go, oh, darn it, I missed that. Now, I don't know about you, but as a small business owner, I have never been in a position where I can afford to miss my numbers, right? I can't be reactive. I have to be proactive. So by making yourself be accountable and look at this number every single week, you are going to drive your business, clarity and commitment, and you're going to solve problems faster. And when you see the numbers, you're going to be able to say, oh, that's interesting. How are these things correlated? And I'm going to give you an example in just a second. Okay, so this is a screenshot of one of my clients, Carolina Family Vision, and they are a optometrist in Holly Springs. If you're looking for an optometrist, by the way, or you have any medical eye conditions, I'm going to do a plug for them because they're amazing, FYI. Okay, so I've been working with them for 2 years. I serve as a fractional leadership integrator for them, and I meet with that team every single week, and we go over these numbers. We do the gross revenue. We have a goal monthly. We do the number of exams. What is the revenue per patient? How many frames did we sell? How many contact lens fittings? Contact box, annual supply, all these different numbers. And I will tell you what started to happen. For example, we couldn't understand why we weren't selling more contact lenses, and the doctors thought that we were selling a lot more than we actually were. Well, when we started tracking these numbers a few months in, the number of contact lens fittings to the percentage of actual contact lens sales, we were at like 46% maybe. Well, what we realized is it was a training issue. The techs were not selling as well, and therefore people weren't purchasing. So we were able to give them more sales training. And then all of a sudden, now our number is regularly around 75 to 80% of people now purchase. But thank you, Jackie. I appreciate the thumbs up. But if we weren't tracking this, we would have had no idea, and we wouldn't have been able to say, oh, okay, well, why is this issue coming up? Okay, so you have to figure out in your business, what are the numbers you're going to track? So here are some things that you might want to start with. And again, go ahead and put this in you can download a scorecard, I think, too, a sample scorecard, but I like the idea of putting it in a Google spreadsheet, and then you can track it weekly. So weekly revenue, cash balance, sales calls, sales meetings, proposals, closed business, payroll. And when Cherith comes up next, she's going to help walk you through exactly what you're going to need to do in order to know what your goals are on this, okay? So I want you to start to define your scorecard. This is the homework here, okay? We don't have enough time to start doing that today, but put it down, define it, and then live by it, okay? So the next thing I'm gonna quickly go over, and then I'm gonna get to turn it over to Cherith, which I'm excited about, is going to be the entrepreneurial operation traction, okay? So in traction, we live in a 90-day world, which I absolutely love. So we set goals based upon the next 90 days. This, for human beings, is pretty much all we can really do. When you try to start going a lot further out, it can become really overwhelming, okay? So we're going to set rocks. What is a rock? It's just your priorities. It's what keeps you focused and keeps you away from shiny object syndrome, okay? It's the 3 to 7 most important things that you have to accomplish in the next 90 days. And then, y'all, these are the things that you only focus on as much as possible. So you can have priorities for your company. If you have departments, you can have rocks. You can have individual rocks. And things of that nature. So the top 3 to 5, and I love this little thing on the corner that says, if the big rocks don't go in first, they aren't going to fit in later. So put your highest priorities in first, then your little rocks, and then your sand, okay? This is really, really critical to your success. Then the next piece of this is going to be, I want you to have what's called a level 10 meeting, even if it's with yourself. Every single week, it is your weekly check-in. If you have a leadership team, you're going to have them with it. And it happens at the same day, the same time, and it's the same agenda every single week. So if you do have a team and you're finding that your meetings never are very productive and that you're going off on tangents and stuff like this is going to pull it together, okay? So this is about solving issues and creating a list of items that require attention. So this is the agenda, and I'm going to finish up in just a minute. We're going to move on. So what we do is we start off the level 10 meeting and we share good news, because we are moving from working in the business to on the business. And this is critical because the majority of us spend so much time working in our business that we are not allocating time to work on the business. This is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see. And if you are not creating dedicated time to work on your business every single week, you will not be successful. So make sure you're doing this. The next thing we do is the scorecard. We review our numbers, those measurables that we set. Are we on track or off track? The next thing we review is our rocks. Again, on track with our rocks, or are we off track? We review people, and if we have people in our organization, how are they doing? We review our to-do list. The biggest section of this is for what we call IDS, which is our issues solving track, where we identify, discuss, and solve issues, okay? And this is really important if you do have more than one, because it's not just you, and as your team grows. Now, for more information on this, pick up a copy of the book Traction, hop on the website. There are so many free tools. This is an introduction to this world, and then you'll conclude the meeting, but this should happen every single week. So, all right, I can answer a couple of questions if anybody has any questions. And then I'm going to turn it over to the fabulous Miss Cherith. Oh no, let Cherith, you know what? Not yet, right? We're going to do, that's in the next section. I'm sorry. We're going to take a brief break and then I'm going to jump into the next presentation. Then you come on. So yes. Okay, so let me just answer this really quickly. So what was the D? Oh, discuss. So in IDS, it's identify, discuss, and solve. That is what we're doing. And let me actually just pop this up really quick too, because I want to give you guys my contact information. I have a million things here, all my social media stuff. So feel free to link in with me, connect with me however you guys want, whatever feels good. Does anybody else have any more questions? Because then we're going to take a quick break. Yes, I'm right on time. I love it when this happens. We're going to take a quick break. I think I'll turn it over to Cherith unless anybody else has any questions based upon the first part of this training. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? You guys remember that movie? What's that from? Pop it in the chat if you know what movie is on. Anyone? Bueller? Best movie. Ferris Bueller's Day Out. Yes, exactly. Awesome. All right, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to turn it over to Cherith, and then I think we're going to take a brief break. Is that correct, Cherith?
That is right. Okay, I hope that you all were taking notes the way that I was. I actually finished using up my Post-it note because I've been taking some nuggets down, Marni. So I do not advise using up all of your Post-it notes. So maybe use a notebook. Great job on the first part of today's session. Thanks so much, Marni. I want to know, give me a quick thumbs up if you're feeling a little bit more clarity for your business, or like you are feeling more clarity around what you need to do to take that next step in your business. Thumbs up, how many of you are feeling that way? All right, good, awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. We are going to take a 5-minute break. So let's come back at 11 o'clock. It's 10:55. Come back at 11 o'clock and we'll jump into the next part of our session. See y'all soon. Looks like we're at 11:01. Is everybody back with us? All right. Marni, did you want to kick things off?
I will. We got everybody back. Go ahead and let me know that you're back by saying I'm here or something fun in the comments in the chat for us. Please, oh please. Howdy. Love it. Thank you for letting me know that you guys are here. That is super helpful. Hola, hola. Thor, huh? Alyssa, you don't like Thor? He's just too handsome, maybe, huh? I'm just teasing. All right, so this is so much fun. I'm so excited to jump into this next piece with you. So, all right, so here is our agenda for the next few minutes of what we're going to cover. So we're going to do first a deep dive into your customer avatar, your list, what we call the Dream 100. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share this with y'all. So remember before when we were in that vision tracking organizer, I said, okay, we're going to cover the list next. So that's going to be the big thing. Then you have such a treat. This financial worksheet that Cherith has to go over with you is going to really help you with your numbers. Again, we talked a lot about the importance of knowing your numbers backwards and forwards, and she's going to help you figure out, based upon your expenses, based upon how much money you want to make, how many people you need to go out and find. And we're going to help you figure out where to find them and what to do when you do find them, okay? And so that's in the sales process. So you guys ready for this part of it? If you're ready for the next piece of it, tell me yes. Okay, Rachel gave me a thumbs up. I love that. If you're ready, go ahead and tell me yes. I love that smile from you, Jackie. Thank you for that. It's so encouraging. It makes me so happy. All right, Keith says he's ready. Lauren says she's ready. Becky says, bring it. I love it. All right, what else we got? Y'all ready? Radhika, James said yes, yes, yes. I love it. Okay, so who is your dream customer client? We are going to do a deep dig here. Where are they congregating already? And are they moving away from pain or toward pleasure? These are the most important questions that we need to answer in order to help you on this journey. So why do this? Why is this important? Why do you want to take your time with this? This is going to impact every aspect of your sales and marketing, okay? From content marketing to paid traffic, like digital advertising, if you choose to do that. Product creation, what new products or services are you going to create? How do you write great copy for these people so that they'll actually convert? Email marketing, any part of the marketing and sales process that touches the customer, which is pretty much everything, is going to improve when you get super clear on your avatar, okay? It's a person that buys our products or services. So we have to get clear on the characteristics of that person so we can find and present them with a message that moves them to action. Now, if you're sitting there saying, but Marni, there's so many people that are my potential client, I'm gonna say that's great, but for purposes of this, I want us to zone in, focus on one person to begin with, one archetype of person to begin with. We can build out other avatars, but one of the things that you have to understand is that people, they only are going to work with one message, okay? So if one of your avatars is moms, you're not gonna speak to a mom the same way that you would speak to a corporate, gentleman executive, okay? Two completely different people. So you have to remember that we got to stay focused on who the first person is, and then we can develop a second avatar, okay? So we need to understand at a deeper level. So we're going to shift you from being product or service centric to customer centric, okay? Some of the most successful companies in the world put customers first, right? Think about how many companies do this. Now, this may be the most difficult part of the process because often what happens is the mess becomes the message. Now, often what happens is basically you might have started your business because you were frustrated about a problem you were having. You looked for a solution. If you weren't able to find the solution and that gave you the result you wanted, then you might have gone on a journey to figure it out. And then what you found that you loved and you became so passionate about that it became your business, right? So if that's the case, we're going to go back and I want you to start to tap into how you felt, the things you thought about, and everything that was around you when things were kind of more of that mess, because that is where your customer is now. And you're going to need to understand this customer better than they even understand themselves. Again, the key to finding these people is understanding and being able to speak their language, okay? So the world through the customer's eyes. Enter the conversation already taking place in your customer's mind. This is from Robert Collier, who wrote a book called the Robert Collier Letter Book. But this really comes out of this book that I love called Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson, okay? So you're getting sort of a conglomeration in this training of a lot of different experts that have we've put together and that we've implemented their work. So we're gonna see the world the way the customer sees it. We need to understand the core pain they're moving away from and the core desires and passions they're moving toward. Once you understand this, it's going to be easy to identify where these people are both online and offline. Okay, so is this making sense so far? Tell me yes if it's making sense so far and you're with me. I take a quick drink of water. Yes, good. Okay, so there are 3 core markets, okay, that we really have. It doesn't matter what business that you're in. When people purchase a product or service, they're hoping to get a certain result in one of these 3 areas of their life, okay? So we have health, we have wealth, and we have relationships. Your business is going to be in one of these big areas, okay? And you might say, oh, but Marni, it fits into more than one category. And that might be true, but for purposes of this, we're going to figure out which category it would fit into. So which of these 3 desires is my future dream customer trying to receive when they buy my product or service? So the first layer to getting inside the mind of your dream customer. And again, many products can be marketed toward getting a result in more than one of these desires, but your marketing message, can only focus on one of them. When we have a marketing message, it's one at a time. People don't respond well when there are multiple messages, okay? One message. And by the way, a body of this work is coming out of, again, this book is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. So love these books. They're very, very, very powerful. So away from pain or toward pleasure. What direction is your target person moving toward? Everybody, when they're getting ready to buy, is moving in one of these 2 directions, okay? So we're either moving away from pain or we're moving toward pleasure. Okay, so always moving towards one or the other. So let's tell you if they're moving away from pain. I'm going to give you some examples here, okay? If they're moving away from pain in health, it's I'm overweight, I don't feel comfortable in my clothes, okay? I don't have energy and I feel tired all the time. So for my health coaches, anybody who works in health, your person's moving away from pain, okay? I hate what I see when I look in the mirror. Wealth. I hate my job and I want to fire my boss. So if I have any career coaches or you know, those types of people who work in HR, people are trying to create more wealth in this arena. They're moving away from this pain. I have no money saved and I'm scared I could lose my job. Everyone around me makes more money than I do. Moving away from pain. Relationships. I'm in a bad relationship and I don't know how to get out. So this might be people who would seek Dr. Tammy's services, right? I feel alone. I want people to feel what love feels like. I feel awkward when I'm around people I don't know. So this is the psychology part of this, okay? And we need to understand the mental conversation tools. So the first thing that I want to do is, if you have somebody that's your target customer that is moving away from pain, I want you to write out, try for 12. We're going to start this now. The 12 search things, like what are the 12 phrases that your target customer would potentially be searching for to get out of pain? So one of the ways, and we're going to do a quick exercise and we're going to write some stuff out in just a minute, but if you're struggling, you can look at online forums, message boards, and groups to see what others are saying when they're trying to get out of pain in your particular niche. So Quora, and if you've never heard of answerthepublic.com, that's a really cool website to see what people are talking about. So I want you to put yourself in their shoes and write out what you believe people are thinking. And again, let's go ahead. I want to take a couple of quick minutes. We might not get to 12, but that's okay. Let's take a few quiet minutes. And if your target customer is moving out of pain, I want you to write out 12 phrases. Well, you have to do 12 right now, maybe just a couple. What would they be searching for? And maybe share one or two in the chat after you have a moment to do that. Yes, Lindsay, how to look natural in photos. So the pain that they're moving away from is that they don't feel like they look natural or good in their photos, right? So I love that. That's perfect. Does anybody else have one they want to share? I think you guys are working. Okay, so Rachel, I see affordable signage for small businesses. So what is the pain that they're moving away from? The pain is they're tired of paying too much, right? So that would be the pain. So it really is a wealth thing, isn't it, right? Yep, exactly. They can't afford it. Yep, Alice says, I was doing really well with my eating and then COVID hit. So the pain is that they've gained weight, right? Yes. Okay. Tasha says, info, support, navigation, fear of something going wrong, fear of not having control. Exactly. Does my baby need physical therapy? Does my baby have neck tightness? Yeah. So what is the pain, Radhika, that they're moving away from? The pain is, oh my God, could there be something wrong with my baby, right? Baby's development. Exactly. Yes, exactly. So part of your homework coming out of this, I want you to write out the 12 phrases when they're moving away from pain, okay? Next, not everybody's moving away from pain. There's a lot of people who are moving toward pleasure too. So they don't have a desire for health, wealth, and relationships because they are unhappy. They have a desire because they are happy and they're looking for more, right? So in health, it might be, I want to get 6-pack abs, right? Like, hey, you know, I'm already pretty lean, or I'm already looking pretty good. I want to take it to the next level, right? I want to be able to run a marathon. I want to eat healthier so I can get more energy, right? Okay, so within wealth, we have, I want to buy my dream house or dream car. I want to grow my company so I can have more impact. I want to learn leadership so I can grow my team. So somebody like Nash, who owns State Farm, and she's awesome, by the way, plug for Nash. She's on my A team for Networking Women of the Triangle. I love her, and she's actually, I'm a client of hers. But she helps people build wealth as well with her insurance. So people are looking to move towards pleasure, right? Relationships. I want more passion in my relationships. I want to spend more time with my spouse and kids. I want to meet more people through networking, okay? So next, if you are somebody who offers a service or a product that helps somebody move towards pleasure, I want you to write some phrases that people who are moving toward pleasure may have running through their minds. So let's take a quiet minute and we'll do that now. Y'all are doing such a great job. I'm so proud for all of you. Doing so good. Yes. Yes, I love these. Rachel says, pleasure. I want a Pinterest style celebration versus a big box store option. Solution is one of a kind, sustainably minded invites, decor, outdoor art and more. Yes. I want my online presence to reflect my authentic self, says Lindsay. I love this. Becky, branded items help increase brand awareness. Perfect. Great job, everybody. Yes, I want someone who has my back. Indeed. Okay, I love it. Okay, so homework is write out the rest of those phrases since we're not going to have time to do a ton of it. But so now we're going to start working on building out the rest of our avatar. Okay, so there are 5 major components to this avatar. So in some cases, you are going to need to do some surveying or have conversations with existing customers so that you can accurately really flesh this out. In other cases, you're going to be more intimately familiar with all these characteristics of this person. So in any case, move forward. Don't wait for surveys or interviews to create the first draft of this. You can make assumptions if you don't have data or feedback, and you put it on your short lists, to complete your research. So you're going to get benefit by just starting to move forward on this, okay? So this is from Digital Marketer, which is another really, really great online resource that I love. And so this is a customer avatar worksheet. And so Digital Marketer sells digital marketing services. So this is a customer avatar that they have created for somebody they're calling Agency Eric. And it's a male, obviously. In the middle, we have demographic information. And then we have goals and values, sources of information, challenges and pain points, and objections and role in the purchase process. We want to have a fully fleshed out avatar. And that way, when we're making decisions, we say, oh, how would Eric feel? Would Eric want to buy this? So we sort of bring this avatar to life by starting to really do a robust job of filling this out. So we're going to start with the the goals and values. So Agency Eric's goals and values. So for example, he says that he wants to increase the capabilities of his team. So drive product creation, copywriting, and content marketing and email marketing to get attention. So his goal is to, again, increase the capacity, the capabilities of his team. So knowing what that is, then we can draft an email, for example, to this avatar that would promote a content marketing certification with the subject line, need content marketing training. So in this way, we are creating you know, email marketing in this case, or we could do, you know, social posts. We could do, you know, events, all of these things around one of these goals, which he has. So you need to understand what are the goals that your avatar is trying to create. You can also use some of your pain pleasure phrases here to fill this out. So I want you to take 2 quiet minutes, and I want you to start thinking about what are the goals and the values of your avatar. Natalia, Digital Marketer has this template that I just showed you, and you can download it from the Digital Marketer website, and you just would put in customer avatar. And Radhika said Donald Miller has a great book, Building a Story Brand. So that's another potential resource for you as well. Oh, there we go. Love it. Very good, Jackie. Thank you. Okay, so go ahead, and when you guys are ready, if you have any goals or values that you would like to share, go ahead and pop them in the chat if you come up with a couple. Just take another minute. Lindsay says celebrating loved ones and fur babies. That is very sweet. I like that a lot. Cool. Okay, so put this for your homework in building out your avatar. The next part we're going to go into is the where. Okay, so what sources of information is your avatar looking to help them? Okay, this is going to help you really to determine the best places to advertise and the targeting options to use to reach your avatar by listing their sources of information. This is probably something that you'll look at doing if you're a more mature business owner, or in the future, if you have some dollars to be able to spend on marketing. And I love this trick. So the trick is use the but no one else in the world when filling out this worksheet. You'll simply complete sentences like this. My ideal customer would read expert secrets, but nobody else would. They would subscribe to Oprah magazine, but no one else would. They'd attend Cherith's Financial Fortitude Summit, but no one else would. So the idea here is to really find the niche books, magazines, blogs, conferences, gurus that your ideal customer would be attracted to, but no one else would. I wish somebody had told me in the beginning that it's so important to know who you don't want to work with in addition to who you want to work with. I mean, I'll be really frank with you guys. There was a long time that I worked with people that I did not want to work with, but I needed the money and I didn't realize there was another way. And the great thing about this is like creating a huge, like super magnet, right? When you create this, then you attract the people you really want to work with. So this is a really, really important, worthwhile thing to spend your time on. So, all right, so maybe take a moment and just start writing out a couple of sources of information for where you would, I'm gonna actually go back a slide so you guys can kind of see books, magazines, blogs, websites, conferences, gurus, other. And we're going to do an even deeper dive into this in a couple minutes. But just go ahead and jot down a couple of things. What books would they read? What magazines are they interested in? What blogs, what websites, conferences? Excellent. Okay. Next, demographic information, okay? This is gonna bring your customer avatar to life. You're probably used to this. You know, when we're talking about demographics, there's demographics and there's psychographics. So demographic is age, gender, marital status, number of children, all the other stuff is considered our psychographic information. And this is actually really cool, is if you put like a quote that they might say, because that's going to help you to really kind of get inside the head of your ideal customer. So when you're writing content, email, sales copy, you're going to want to be able to write as though your avatar was sitting across the table from you and you're having a conversation with them, okay? Your copy is what allows your ideal person to make the leap from all of their problems and the roadblocks to being able to jump over that precipitous cavern, if you will, to get to what it is that they want, okay? And by the way, I'm going to tell you guys, this book, Copywriting Secrets, Jim Edwards, again, Russell Brunson should totally be paying me to market these books for him. But seriously, I'm not making any money by telling you guys this. This is huge. If you don't know how, well, even if you think you know how to write copy, because I thought I knew how to write good copy and I've been in marketing since I've been 18 years old. This book was a game changer on my copywriting. So I'm going to encourage y'all to think about picking up some of these Russell Brunson books. And then the other thing is Russell Brunson does what's called the One Funnel Away Challenge. And it's a 30-day challenge. It's $100. Best $100 I think I've ever spent to get marketing training. Truly. So just FYI, that's another resource for you. So, so let's go ahead and get that demographic information down. Just take a minute or two to jot down a few things. And I know we're moving a little bit quickly here, but we don't have quite as much time today, but that's okay, because y'all will come back to this. The next part is challenges and pain points, okay? So this really helps to drive new product, service development, as well as copywriting, and really compels people to taking action, okay? So we want to build solutions to challenges and pain points and use language that addresses it in our marketing messages. You can even use some of your earlier phrases from the earlier exercise that we did in order to help inform this. Now, you know, I don't know, so it's interesting because, you know, digital marketer, and then you've got like Russell Brunson, and in digital marketer, they don't really address moving towards pleasure. They address a lot more of like the pain pieces of this. So I think it's important to have both, right? So we have the resources of both. So write down challenges and pain points so that you know you can come back to that, okay? Then we have objections and role in the purchase process. So why would your customer avatar choose not to buy your product or services? Okay, these are called your objections, and they need to be addressed in your marketing. And we're going to talk also about how you answer objections a little bit in the sales process part of our training, which will happen after Cherith does her worksheet. But write down objections and role in the purchase process. And again, understanding decision making on the other side of this, again, the psychology of purchase is really going to help with the success of your marketing and sales campaigns. Okay, so perfect. perfect timing. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to turn it over to the fabulous, the talented, the amazing Cherith Roberson I'm going to stop my share so she can hop into getting ready to help you guys with this amazing sheet that she has.
Awesome. Thank you, Marni. Great job. Okay, so how are you all feeling about what your customer avatar looks like, where they might be living, hanging out online, hanging out in person? How are y'all feeling about that? Jackie, I like your thumbs up, Jackie. So this one may be one where you're spending a little bit more time, like Marni said, doing a little bit of research, really getting in the head of your customer, but the framework that she's providing will really help you apply what she shared so far and make sure that you're dialing into that specific person. So we're going to switch gears a little bit here, because what we really wanted you to walk away with is, okay, I know who my customer is. I know the pain points that they might be experiencing. I know how they want to live and show up and have that pain solved. But I also want to know how much money I need to make in my business in order to either replace my income, fuel my side hustle, or have a sustainable business. Everybody has slightly different needs for this. And if I don't know how much money I need to make, I'm kind of shooting in the dark every day, right? Which is a very frustrating way to run a business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the links in the chat one more time. We're going to do a worksheet together. This is a really simple worksheet. Some of you have probably seen it before. And if you have, use this time as a refresher. So if you use Google Documents, Google Drive, you can use the link I just put into the chat. If you prefer to use Excel, I also just put the Excel file into the chat, so you can double click on that and download it on your computer. So I want you to, if you're using Google Drive, go ahead and click on the link and open that up, and then you're going to make a copy of the sales goal template. What I'm going to do is share my screen and show you how to do that. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so to make a copy of this, you're going to go up to the File button and you're going to make a copy. Once you've made a copy, you can share it, save it wherever you'd like on your Google Drive. You will be able to edit it. You're not going to be able to edit the one that I'm working in. All right, so make sure you make a copy. Let me know when you all have in the chat, just drop the word yes once you have either the Google Sheets open on your computer with a copy so that you can type along with me, or the Excel file. All right, I'm going to move this back over so it's out of our way. All right. Looks like we've got a couple people who have it so far. All right, I'm going to wait until you all tell me that you have it open. It's going to be much more powerful if you are able to follow along and go ahead and put some numbers in place. Okay. All right. So, Radhika, you can't hear me very well. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. All right, so Radhika, you may just need to adjust your volume on your computer. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with personal finances here. And the reason that we're going to start with personal finances is that for most of our small business owners, I'm assuming most of you all have personal goals that you have for your business. You have bills you need to pay, you need to replace an income, and or you want to become more financially independent. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start off with personal finances. What I'd like to do is spend about 5 minutes putting numbers into these categories. Now, you should not change the formulas, what's in blue here, but you can change anything that's in the green boxes. So let's say you have a lease or mortgage that's $1,200. Put in whatever this number is for you. Same thing for your utilities, electric, gas, and water. This is your amount that you're spending on average per month. If you don't know what that is, you can put in a guess. I've just put in numbers, holding numbers here. So put in your best guess if you're not sure exactly what that is. Let's say that we have some student loans at $425 a month. I'll put that in here. As many of you know, if you're self-employed, you're paying for your own medical insurance. So that is a consideration you want to include. We have savings for a rainy day fund. A lot of times my small business owners don't want to include savings for retirement savings. I'm going to encourage you to include that in your first number. And then if you need to backtrack and say that's not doable for months 1 through 3, but I really want to focus on it for months 3 through 6, you can do that. But I really want to encourage you to think and have the mindset now that you are putting some money in savings too. It makes living a lot less stressful when you know you have the money you need for an unexpected expense. Right? We have personal spending here. If you have childcare expenses, recreation and entertainment. All right, so I'm going to give you all about 1 more minute to put in your personal finances, and it will automatically calculate at the bottom. If you need to add in any other categories or change categories, you can do that too. Okay, let me know in the chat when you have your personal finances where you'd like them. And I know that this is looking at the numbers and trying to remember. I know, Natalia, right? It's amazing how things add up. All right, Michelle's got it. Crystal's got it. Natalia, it looks like you've got it. Lindsay's got it. Great. Good job, guys. All right. More time. You feel good. Yes, let me share the link. So Radhika, what you're going to do is, no worries. You're going to actually copy the spreadsheet. So you're going to click File and make a copy, and then you'll be able to work off of it. And I'm also going to put the Excel right into the chat as well, so that if you'd prefer to work on Excel, you can do it that way. Yep, you got it. All right. How many of you have a total budget per month number here that looks about right? So this person that I've created, their total budget right now is $68.50 per month. That number seems high, right? Now, don't forget, we've got savings for rainy day fund and retirement savings here that really bring that number up. So this person is not living on a tight budget. I don't want you to have the mindset that you have to live on a tight budget either. We really want to create a little bit of space for you in your business. So I'm going to show you why these numbers are so powerful, but also why a lot of times they're more obtainable than we might initially think they are. All right, so you're a small business owner. As a small business owner, you are going to pay your personal taxes, plus you're paying the employer's portion of taxes. So what that means is that when you are working for an organization and you get your W-2, you're paying 7.35 or something like that %. Well, when you are self-employed, a lot of people will refer to this as a self-employment tax, a double tax. You're actually paying the 15.3% because you're paying your portion and the employer's portion. So that's for your Social Security, Medicare or Medicaid, that type, those expenses. So that's that 15.3%. So if your tax rate is about 30%, and for most people, it's going to probably be in between about 22 and 30%. You are going to need to make an additional $9,785.71 to make sure that you are putting aside money to pay your taxes at the end of the year. So what happens here is this is my total budget that I need to make per month to reach these expenses. Then I need to be saving money to pay my taxes. And what you'll typically do is you're going to pay an estimated quarterly tax payment after your first year of doing business. And your CPA or bookkeeper, well, your CPA will help. This will come up after you file that first year taxes, all right? And you'll just pay it on a quarterly basis. But if I'm budgeting for it now, I know then that my annual income for me to pay my monthly living expenses, as I've listed here, plus that 30% state and federal tax is going to be $117,428.57. All right. So that means that my annual income tax, the total tax that I pay, is going to be $35,000 for the year, and my net income, the $6,850 times 12, is going to be $82,200. All right, you with me? All right, I'm going to come back and answer your question, Natalia. You can change the categories if you'd like, Abdisamad. So you can change these to whatever fits your personal needs. So let's say that you don't want to, you don't have a car payment or vehicle maintenance, you don't have to include that category. Or if you do have a car payment that's, you know, $300, you could change this $75 to $300. So you can change these in white. All right, so now what we're going to do is I know that what my personal needs are. I know that my personal gross before I pay taxes is $117,000. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to what my business expenses are per month. Now, my business expenses per month are the fixed payments that I make regardless of whether or not I sell anything. So this is not what it costs you to sell that specific product. Let's say that you are selling a specific product to a customer. You're not putting the cost of those sunglasses into this business expenses per month. These are the business expenses that do not change. So if you have a brick and mortar space, you would put in your lease payment here. So let's say that this business has a brick and mortar space. They might be paying $3,000 a month for that. Along with that space, they might have utilities of $500 because they are, let's say that they're a small restaurant or bakery. Okay, they may be paying some website hosting fees for $25 every single month. And then they might have a point of sale system monthly fee. This is not the credit card fee that the customer pays, but this might be a monthly fee they might pay. Usually that's not the case, but sometimes it is. They may be paying $35 a month for QuickBooks Online. They may be paying $125 a month for a phone service. Their business insurance, they're not paying that on a monthly basis, they're paying that annually. So you're going to leave that blank. Anything that you're not paying just per month, we don't put in here. It's going to go in a different spot. All right. Let's say that this business knows that they have to invest in marketing to attract people, and they know that they need to spend about $500 a month in marketing. Then they've hired a bookkeeper for $125 a month, and they also are paying $125 a month in printing. So these are my fixed business expenses that do not change every month, no matter how many customers I have. All right, so I'm going to give you all about 3 minutes to put in what your fixed business expenses are or what you think they will be. Now, if you are looking for an average of numbers, let me know in the chat and I could give you what an average might be for a lot of different categories. So Mia, you would only include Zoom if you have Zoom for your business. And if it's an annual subscription, that's not going to go in your per month category. It's going to go down here underneath startup costs or annual fees. So that's our next category. All right. This is only for what you're paying every single month. Natalia, if you are doing business from your house, you're not paying rent to your business, that's going to be a tax write-off for your business. You're not going to put this in your business expenses per month. That's going to reduce your overall tax bill, which is great and is not addressed in this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is more simple than that. So only include the categories that are applicable to you. So here, the lease is not going to be applicable if you are not in a brick and mortar space that you're paying for separately. So let me know when you all feel like you've got your business expenses per month. For some of you, this might be 3 things, really simple, 150 bucks. It's going to be different for different types of businesses. Okay, how we feeling? Remember that this part of what we're doing today is all about giving you power to help make decisions for your business. So I like to say knowledge is power. So when you look at these numbers, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want you to feel empowered to know what you're going to need to be successful and have a sustainable business that will stay in business. That makes a lot of sense, Rachel. So just put down the numbers you know, and you're going to come back and finish filling them in, because the document that you're using now, you can save and continue to work from. So yeah, you're not going to know all of these numbers probably off the top of your head. All right, so we're going to now move to startup costs or annual fees. So these are, if you're just starting your business, you're going to put in startup costs. If you've been in business, we're going to use this as our annual fee category. So this is for things that you are spending on just an annual basis. So things like your general liability insurance policy, which I would recommend that most of you consider. There may be a few of you who don't need general liability insurance, but for most of you, if there might be a risk for your business, I think it's worth thinking about and talking to other people in your industry just to make sure that you are protecting and adding that layer of protection. All right, so startup costs or annual fees. If you are new and haven't started your business yet, do we have anybody here who hasn't officially started their business yet? Okay, Suzette, so for you, your registration, if you choose LLC as your business registration, that amount here is $200. Or no, I'm saying this backwards. I hate it when that happens. Do y'all ever have just the right information just go straight out of your brain? Thank you, Rachel. So your registration with the Secretary of State, and I tell people this every single day, is $125, and then when you renew your registration every year, which was actually due yesterday, 4/15. So if you haven't renewed it for 2021 yet, go ahead and go do that with the Secretary of State. It's $200. That's for your annual report. Thank you, Rachel. All right, so if you're not a new business, you'll change that 125 to 200 here, and that's just for your renewal every year. You'll file an annual report. It's very simple. Maybe a 20-minute process on the Secretary of State's website. All right, so some other fees that you may incur for your business that might be annual, just once a year, could be that general liability insurance. And it really is going to depend on the risk for your business. So if you're, let's say that you're a photographer, or you are offering a product or service upon which there might be a high probability that someone could be injured and your business could be at risk, then considering insurance is a good idea. For some of you, you probably don't have to think about that right now. It's really an individual choice based on your level of risk and your industry. Yeah, you can definitely combine them, Tasha. All right, so for things like, let's say that you're starting up your business, if you're creating your website, you might be spending $2,500 here, or you might be doing it yourself for 150 bucks. All right, I might be spending $350 on logo and branding. And I'm just giving you all a couple of ideas here of things to think about. All right, so I have my startup costs or my annual fees at $11.90. For some of you, these numbers are going to be way higher. If you have a restaurant or something like that, you're going to be spending a lot more money in your startup costs for your equipment and annual fees. Tasha, the other thing you could do is you could do two different versions of this. You could make a copy of the sheet and do one for one business and the other for the other business. All right, so you all have your startup costs or annual fees or a good idea of what those would be? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to move over, and it's probably going to look a little bit smaller on your screen. I have it increased just so everybody can see it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to my customers. Now, I think I said earlier that I'm a bakery here. So I'm selling beautiful custom cakes, and I'm selling them on average for about $65 a piece. My cakes cost me about $14 in products to make because I buy everything at wholesale, and I don't ship them to my customers at all. My customers usually pay with a credit card, and that credit card fee is about 3%. So think about now some of you may be selling 17 different items, and you're saying, well, how am I supposed to have my average sale per customer? Think about let's say that you have 45 customers. What I would suggest you do is if they're buying the typical thing that they would buy, add up all the revenue for all 45, divide it by 45, and that would be your that would be your average sale per customer. Okay? All right, so take a couple minutes to figure out what your average sale per customer is or what you think it's going to be, and go ahead and put that in your average sale per customer. This product cost per customer, that's what you are paying for the actual product you are providing. If you are a service-based business, you most likely are not spending a lot in product costs. You may be spending a little bit because you may be giving your customers some collateral, like you may give them something printed at the end. You may be giving them some digital materials that you paid for. So those product costs are specifically associated with what you are providing the customer go here. Here in this $14, not only did I include my cake ingredients, but I also included the box that I put the cake in, and I also included the packing material. So that is all rolled into this $14. So Mia, the equations are if you hover over the blue text, you can see how I've calculated these numbers. And I got the help from a friend of mine who's a PhD in math. So I know these are solid, y'all. So that's where you can see how these numbers are calculated, all right? Oh, so Samia, if you're trying to get the average cost per customer, let's say you have 45 customers, what you would do is you would add up the sales for every single one of those customers and then divide by 45, and then you'd have your average sale per customer. So if one person spent 55 and another person spent 60, another person spent 30, and on, and then you divide it by that number, and that tells you the average sale per customer. That's not a perfect formula. So if you have a really different business, you may want to talk to a small business counselor here at the Small Business Center to make sure you really understand what your average sale is per customer, all right? Okay, so I have that my net profit here per customer is $49.05. My profit margin is $75.46, and my costs are 24.54% of my sale. This does not include my business expenses per month as part of the cost. This is just my profit margin based on my customer costs, okay? All right, so now I know what my net profit is per customer. So now what we're going down into is how many customers do I need? How many cakes do I need to sell every month and every day in order to make that 117 that I need to make? All right, and cover my business expenses. So I know that my personal needs per month are $9,785.71. I got that from this number up here, that total monthly gross income plus the 30% that I need to save for my taxes. If you're with me, give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat. With me? All right. Great, great. All right, so now I also know that my business total needs per month are $4,435. Where did that number come from? That number came from this business expenses per month, all right? $4,435. Now I know my total income needed per month without paying for customer costs. So this is without paying for my cake ingredients, without paying for the boxes the cake comes in, are $14,220.71, because this is taking my personal needs plus my business needs and adding the two together. So over the course of a year, that's $170,648.57. Now I'm adding in my startup costs or my annual costs, and I've got $1,190. Y'all don't have to do this math. It's already, the formulas are already in for you. So this is just so that you can break it down and look at it. Now I have my personal income here and my net profit per customer. So these numbers are just pulled from the spreadsheet up above, the 4905 and the 171, 838.57. Now what this spreadsheet does, the formulas do, is it takes these numbers and says, okay, my total customers per year in order to reach these goals, plus my cost that it actually takes to make this cake, is I need 3,504 customers. So I need to sell 3,504 $65 cakes. That means that my total sales revenue per year, including my costs to make my cakes, including the boxes and the ingredients, $227,760. Now, if I divide this 3,504 by 12, my total customers that I need per month is 292 customers. And if I'm working 25 days a month, I need to sell 12 cakes a day in order to make those numbers. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I don't think I'm going to sell 12 $65 cakes a day. So I probably need to reconsider how much I'm selling these cakes for. So I'm thinking these cakes need to go for, let's see here. I'm going to have to sell these cakes for at least $250. And let's see what that changes to my numbers. Now, is it realistic for me to sell those cakes for $250? That's a great question. Rachel's over there like, no, it is not. Those better be beautiful cakes. So now I need to sell 3 cakes per day. Am I going to sell 3 $250 cakes every day? Rachel's like, no, you are not. So I may need to reconsider my business model. Now, it may be entirely possible that I could do this, but for this specific example, maybe not. So what I want you to do with this spreadsheet is, 1, be honest with yourself. 2, look at your business model. Now, I just threw that example in there as a bakery. I could change a lot of these numbers, tweak it, and probably make it work for a bakery. But as they are right now, this is not going to be a sustainable business. Is it realistic for me to expect that I could sell 3 $250 cakes a day by myself without any help? Because I didn't put in any expenses here for employees or a team. That's probably not realistic or sustainable. So make sure that you're looking at these numbers here and that they actually make sense for your business and are doable. If they're not, maybe I could go up here and say, well, retirement savings, I'm going to zero. Savings for a rainy day fund, I'm going to zero. Y'all, my air conditioning just went out. I have no savings for rainy day fund or retirement savings. Now I can't keep my cake ingredients at the temperature that I need them to. And I'm spending all my time trying to find extra money for my HVAC, so I'm not getting any customers. That does not sound like a recipe for success for my business or for me personally. So don't do that with your numbers. All right, y'all with me? Okay, so what I want you to do with this spreadsheet is put in the numbers that are realistic for you. Make sure this total customers needed per month with the days worked per month that you want to work. Ideally, you're taking 2 days off every week if you can. A 20-day work week, that's a typical Monday through Friday. Then if these numbers, when you really say, okay, I know that it's realistic for me to sell to 3 customers every day at $250 per customer. If that's realistic for your business and you know it's possible, along with the time that it takes to market and do your other activities, then it becomes a sustainable business plan. Yeah, Natalia, you can't charge $5 per signature if you need 84 clients a day. Not unless they're coming up to a little drive-in window, right? You've got to have them lined up for you. All right, so another way to look at these numbers, I've got this set up in 2 ways, is that I want to make sure that I know what my total revenue is, my total customers are, and for some reason, this formula, yeah, okay, it's matching up. Oh, I remembered the earlier number here was, I think, 2,000 and some before I changed the price to $250. So another way to look at these, this is just basically checking your work. How many of you had to check your work in elementary school with those math problems? So this is another way of checking your work here, another way to look at these numbers. And what it does is it's taking that total revenue, minusing out your expenses, and this number should be pretty close to 0 or always positive. The reason that it's $221 is just due to rounding and that some of these numbers are pretty high. So as long as it's positive, that means I've got $221 in my business at the end of the year after I've paid for everything and paid myself. So that's a good thing. This number should never be negative. If it is, then you've probably touched a formula here and it's not working right anymore, and you can send it to me and say what happened, Sheriff, and I'll help you figure it out. All right, so play around with this, make sure you're putting in your expenses, use it as a tool to help you figure out what is sustainable for your business. Like Natalia just said, she can't do 84 customers at $5 per day per signature for a public notary because that is just not sustainable. And Marnie's like, we need to increase the price of the cakes. So Marnie, I'm thinking these have got to be like $1,000 cakes. I'm like that lady in New York City, I can't remember her name right now, who makes those gorgeous, beautiful cakes. She probably charges $10,000 for her cakes.
I was gonna say they're not $1,000.
So I'm charging $1,000 for a cake. My costs are about $150, and now I'm selling. Let's see. I need 1 customer per day.
Perfect.
So then I have to know who in the world is going to buy a $1,000 cake per day. How am I going to make that work? Is that going to work in this area where I live? Does it make sense for my business? Or what do I need to tweak and change? And that's why working with a small business counselor, working with a coach, somebody like Marni, can really help you dial down if you're stuck in a place like this where you're like, this just doesn't make sense, but I feel like I'm close. That person can help you figure it out and get it right. All right, so I am going to pause for a couple of questions, then I'm going to turn it back over to Marni to finish us out for the day. I did see one question earlier about your estimated tax. So what happens is when you file your tax return at after your first year in business, if you owe more than $1,000 for that tax, then you are going to get an estimated tax, quarterly estimated tax payment. It's going to automatically be included with your tax return to file for the next year. If you do not, you probably won't get that estimated quarterly tax payment. So a good best practice that our CPA told us is save about 30% to pay those taxes. You may end up paying only 20%, but if you're planning on about 30%, you probably won't end up with a huge surprise bill. So that's a good best practice. And you can also go to the IRS website and calculate estimated quarterly tax payments if you want to. It's not necessary, but that's if you're like to plan ahead kind of person, or you really want to get a better idea of where your numbers are, you can do that. There's a calculator right on the IRS website. All right, what other questions do y'all have before I turn it back over to Marni? All right, how are you all feeling about that exercise? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel a little overwhelmed? Give me some feedback. Natalia, if you're changing a substantial part of your business, so if your revenue is changing really big in one way or another, I would keep this spreadsheet and use it often. It's not going to replace your bookkeeping software, but it's a good place to kind of play around. You could play around with scenarios to see if they would really work for your business. All right, cool. Okay, Marni, it looks like we don't have any other questions right now, so I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Terrific. Sounds good. So real quick, there was a question about, I think Natalia asked me with Avatar. And by the way, thank you, Cherith. That was amazing. Like, what a powerful tool. I meant to say that. Really, really great. How many avatars are manageable is, I think, the question from Natalia. That's a great question. I really would love for you to just start with one. Start with one right now. And then, you know, once you really have that down, meaning like you've gotten it, you know where they're congregating, you're really jamming on it, those people are flying in, you then go ahead and create a secondary avatar. So that will be probably a good way to handle that. So, all right, so let's talk about, now that Cherith has helped you guys to figure out how many of these folks you need, and hopefully you are charging a lot of money for your services and your products because you are worth it and it's your energy and it's a profitable business. So how do you find customers? So we're gonna go over how to find customers, and then we're gonna go over sales process, and I'm gonna try to nail this down in 20 minutes. So we're gonna rock this out. Okay. So if you don't understand your customer, this is gonna be really hard. So I'm going to tell you, you have to do the avatar work first, okay? Like before you get to this is the next piece of it, okay? When you do know where they are, however, you're going to be able to really understand where they're congregating online and offline to both get out of pain and where they're going to move towards pleasure. So a common misunderstanding that we hear all the time is, oh, I have to create traffic. I have to create traffic. That just isn't true. The traffic is already there, okay? You have to identify where the traffic is, tap into those existing streams of traffic, throw out hooks, and then get a percentage of those dream customers to come to you. So this is called the Dream 100 strategy. And again, this is in this Traffic Secrets book with Russell Brunson. And I'm going to give you guys just a quick video about the Dream 100 from Russell Brunson. I'm going to play just a few minutes of this for you. So hang on, let me get it queued up. Bear with me just for one moment.
100 strategy from.
All right, let me get back to you guys. Where are you? You're here. Share my screen. All right.
Your side of things.
Yeah, I did initially learn from Chet Holmes. Chet was a friend of mine before he passed away, and and he would use the Dream 100 strategy. What he would do, for those who don't know, he would go and say, okay, here's the 100 clients that I want to land as like big, huge consulting clients. So he had 100 people, and he'd go aggressively market to these 100 people, campaigns, what he would do. I remember he told me that, and I was like, well, I sell books and I sell software. Like I can't spend $500 on a campaign to get someone to buy a book. Like I'll be broke really quick. And I couldn't quite connect the dots for a little while. And then one day I realized, I was like, wait a minute. And I talk about this, like chapter 1 of the book's like, who is your dream customer? Chapter 2 is like, where are these people congregating, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, for example, let's say you're in health and fitness. So your dream customer is obsessed with health and fitness. Like, what are the health and fitness blogs that they read? Maybe there's 5 blogs or 20 blogs. What are the podcasts they listen to? There's a whole bunch of podcasts. What are the Facebook groups they're part of? You start looking for all these different congregations. So that was step 2. And then step 3 was like, okay, now I found like there's 300,000 people on this blog learning about health and fitness. Who is the person that owns that blog? Who's the person, if I can get them to like me and build a relationship, that they could like basically give me access to the entire, to 100 customers or 1,000 customers? Who's the person who owns the podcast? And so one of the things we show, I think it's page 41. Yeah, page 41 in the Travis Secrets book. For those who can see this, I know some of you guys are listening, but if you see it, I have this little chart here. It says it has all different networks of Facebook, Instagram, podcasts. So what I do is I go say, okay, who on Facebook already has my dream customer? So who's already congregating together? They've got a group, or they've got a fan page, or they've got something where my customers I want are already hanging out there. So I write down the names of all those people here. Then I go to Instagram. Who are all the influencers that my dream customers are already following? And I list out as many of those as I can. Then who are all the people, all the podcasters that have my dream customers listening to podcasts? And YouTube. And I go through all these different things. And eventually I get a list of like 100 people or so, maybe 150 or 2. I mean, it doesn't have to be 100 exactly, but whatever it is, you have your list of your dream 100. And then the question is like, okay, how do I market directly to these people? Because if I can get one of those people to say yes, it's not like I made one customer. It's like if that person says yes, it could open up 500 or 1,000 customers. A good example is when I launched my very first book, the .com Secrets book. I didn't know any podcasters. So I went through the whole podcast directory, and there's hundreds of really good podcasts. So I sent every single one of them a copy of the book. And they're like, hey, here's my book. Can I be on your podcast? And within like a week, I got a call back from, I didn't know him at the time. I knew who he was, but I didn't know him personally. It was John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur Fire. And JLD's like, dude, your book's awesome. I want to interview you on the podcast. And boom, I'm like, okay. So he interviewed me on the podcast. We told some stories like this. We told people to buy a copy of the book. And from that one interview, we sold over 500 copies of the .com Secrets book. So I got one yes, I got 500 customers from it. Right. And then I got probably a dozen other podcasters that let me on the shows as well. And that strategy is really powerful because one yes opens up 1,000 yeses. That's right. So it's kind of how we begin. And as you get deeper in the book, like that strategy is the core to everything, right? Because the same thing, like where do I buy ads from? Well, what if I buy ads from the following of my Dream 100, right? Like JLD, I'm going to promote on the show, but maybe I can buy ads in his podcast. Maybe I can follow his people on Facebook and Instagram and show them, so it's like, like all of our traffic strategies are all based off this one core foundational concept of the Dream 100.
Okay, so hopefully that resonates for you guys. And that's kind of kicking off this idea of this Dream 100 strategy. And the whole point of this thing is that you really want to tap into what exists already. It's like, do you ever play dominoes and you hit one domino and what happens? All the rest of them go down. Yes, exactly. I love Rachel's with me. She's like pushing the dominoes down. Exactly. So why would you waste all this time and effort going after individuals when you can find the tribes, you can find the places, okay? I'm going to talk to you first about this idea that I love with where your customers are hiding. And this is from BNI's contact spheres. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop in the chat where you can, did that go through? I don't know if that went through. Let me pop that in the chat and see if that works. Let me know if you guys can see that in the chat, what I just sent. No, it's not working. Okay, it's down here at the bottom. You can just Google BNI contact spheres and it's going to give you the different spheres. So in this instance, right, and like Russell was saying, if you're in health and wellness, right, so if you work in nutrition, go find a chiropractor to partner up with, or a massage therapist, or a psychotherapist, or cosmetic sales, hairdresser. find where your people already are offline and tap into that. So Dr. Aaliyah Gard and Dr. Lance Gard, who own Gard Wellness Center in Cary, I go to them. And so I was in the other day, and there's a new company who's doing juicing, and they had samples of their juices at the front for free. So I went and I placed an order because they happen to have them there, right? So we want to start figuring out, where are these people already congregating, okay? So I want you to identify online the top 15 websites, forums, and message boards that they're already going to. The 15 active Facebook groups they engage in, 50 influencers they follow on Facebook and Instagram, 30 podcasts they listen to, 40 email newsletters they are subscribed to, 20 blogs that they actively read, 20 channels that they're following on YouTube. Chunky, chunky, chunky. Now, if you were to put together the aggregate of all these people, you would have thousands and thousands and thousands of potential people. And if you tap into just one of these networks, you know, let's say you get with an Instagram influencer and you build a relationship with them. Now suddenly, as Russell was saying, you hit the domino, okay? So I want you to start thinking strategically in this way, okay? So anybody familiar with this, with Rachel Hollis, Girl Wash Your Face? Okay, so in the book, I want you guys to if you guys pick up the book, you'll read it. But Rachel Hollis, when she was interviewed by Russell about how she actually got her book out, she said, well, this is the strategy we followed. We followed the Dream 100 strategy. Where are the tribes my women are already in? What network marketing companies, for example? Facebook groups, Instagram channels, what hashtags are they following? Who are the tribe owners? Who do we need to become friends with? And anybody with over 200,000 followers got a direct message and we introduced ourselves. So the focus is going to be the find the tribes and then to infiltrate them. So Natalia said this is the point where she stumbles. The amount of information is overwhelming and you don't know how to then process it and narrow it down. Start with what we just gave you in terms of figuring out where they exist first. And then if you're feeling overwhelmed, just how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So pick the platform that you feel most comfortable with. If it's Instagram, start with Instagram. If it's Facebook, start with Facebook. If it's offline, you know, like we were talking about before. So really go to where it feels most comfortable first for you, where your wheelhouse is. Like if you know nothing about Instagram and you don't feel comfortable with that yet, don't start there. Start where you feel comfortable. Offline is often a really great place to start for people, okay? So let's do some brainstorming about how to get the message out, okay? So figure out the contact information for the key people who are the gatekeepers to your customers on the various platforms, okay? So if, for example, if there's an influencer on Instagram, you could do a direct message to them, but you're gonna have to build a relationship. You have to be creative and offer something of value to get their attention. So start liking and commenting on their stuff all the time. If there's something you really like, reach out and say, hey, I just wanted to reach out and say, I really liked your blah, 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 or whatever. So you have to really be a little bit creative because online it's really easy for people to ignore you and they're getting hit up all the time. So, you know, sometimes it can be a handwritten letter or card or something very simple that can have a huge impact. You have to think outside of the box, okay? How can you get these people to pay attention to you? And it may take 6, 7, 8, 10 times of outreach because it's like anything else. When you hear like an advertisement or something, it takes repetition often to be able to break through. So don't give up. If you're not getting immediate responses from people, remember, think about yourself and how much you're bombarded every day with people reaching out to you. But it has to be with something of value. And I want you to come from the perspective of being a servant leader. Okay, givers gain. That means serve first before you ask for something. I can't even tell you how many people hit me up on LinkedIn every single day. And I'm just like, I'm bored and I ignore it because there's nothing of value. They just want something from me, okay? So I want you to think about what would make you excited if somebody reached out. If they gave you something and something of value. So you gotta think outside of the box. But remember, the value, if you have an influencer and they have 1 million followers and you're able to make that one connection, think about what the impact that could have for your business, okay? So remember that people like to consume media in their own favorite ways, and there's less resistance when you don't try to move people from one platform to another. So you can have a different Dream 100 for your different platforms. So on Facebook, with the Facebook groups, let's say Networking Women of the Triangle, which is right here. So I became friends with the owners of Networking Women of the Triangle 4.5 years ago. I was like, oh my God, I need to know the girls who are running that Facebook group, right? And that's when they were at like 5,000 followers. So I became friends with Gigi and Jojo, and oh my God, what they have done for my business. And then of course, how I've served them over the years. I lead Networking Women of the Triangle. We have an A team here in Holly Springs. It's a cohort. So I serve in that way. So I give. And because of that, I have received so much. So remember, different platforms, different Dream 100. Okay. So that's that piece. I only have about 10 minutes, so I don't have a ton of time to answer a lot of questions on that, but let me get through the defining your sales process piece. And if you guys do have questions, pop them in the chat for me and I will come back and I will answer them after this, but I really do want to get through defining the sales process. And I am going to give these slides to Cherith and you'll have access to them after this. So thanks, Rachel. I like the thumbs up. So that way you can go through it. And I want to, again, encourage you. I'll pop up my contact information at the end of this. Please feel free, reach out, link in with me. If you have quick questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to be of help to you. Again, servant leadership, givers gain is not just something that I say. It's something I really mean, and this is my passion. So let me help you where I can. Okay, so the sales process. This is everything. So now what we have done, we've gotten your mind right. You have a growth mentality here. You've defined who you're looking for. You've found where they are. Now, oh my God, you have prospective people coming to you all the time. Woo! How do we not blow it? Close, right? I can't tell you how many times, Marni, can you just close people for me? No, I haven't always been good at this. Sales is not, the best salespeople are not born. They are created. They are made. It is a skill set, okay? So if you don't know how to sell, if you don't like selling, if you've never been a good salesperson, those beliefs, I'm going to take them and I'm going to chuck them out the window because you are going to do this and you're going to rock it. And I know you are, okay? So a sales process refers to a repeatable set of steps a sales team takes to move a prospect from an early stage lead to a closed customer. This process is going to help you and potentially your team to consistently close deals by having a specific framework that you can follow, okay? Yes, how to be good at sales and not be salesy. Exactly. So this is the process. 1, we have a prospect. 2, we connect and we qualify that prospect. 3, we have some kind of usually presentation. 4, we handle objections. 5, we close the sale. And then 6, we communicate and we continue to sell to them, okay? So next, what happens next? Prospecting. So let's go into what stage 1. Prospecting is this process of sourcing new early stage leads to begin them working through the sales process, okay? This is a vital part of it, and it should be a part of your daily and weekly workflow, okay? This might take place online or offline. Use your Dream 100 strategy for this. Another resource for you is HubSpot, okay? They do an amazing job This is like sales process, but you can really do a deep dive into additional training, and HubSpot's another marketing leader. Okay, so connect and qualify. So you got your prospect. They're like, hey, I'm interested in buying your artwork. Okay, great. So after that, we're going to connect and we're going to qualify. Okay, so we need to decide whether or not they're a good fit for our business and whether or not they're likely going to move forward in this buyer's journey. And you can typically determine this over a connect or discovery call. You can do this over Zoom, and sometimes you're going to do this via email, if not via phone, okay? And so you might start to ask qualifying questions like, what problem are you trying to solve, okay? And with sales, the most powerful part of being a professional salesperson is asking great questions, okay? It's not about all this. Chatty. How to sell without being salesy? Shut up and ask more questions and listen. Be a really, really good active listener. That is the key, okay? So then presentation. Usually the next step is where you run a formal presentation or a demonstration of your product or service for your prospect. This step can be more time consuming, so you want to make sure that this is reserved for your more serious prospects, which is why connecting and qualifying is so critical. I made this mistake a lot in the early stages of doing business, where I get on the phone with every single person and I do a huge presentation to everybody and their mother before qualifying them, and I spent a lot of time doing that. So you have to believe enough that what you have is great, and it's not going to be for everybody, and that's okay, but you really need to qualify these people to make sure that they're the right fit for your business, okay? Having a standardized sales presentation that you can use is huge. I wanted to share with you a case study for a Wake Tech client who's one of my favorite folks. His name is Tommy MiaLaMotte, and I had the pleasure of working with him in the fall. So the challenge was Tommy was having trouble selling high dollar portrait paintings to prospective clients, okay? I told him he wasn't charging enough for his work. I made him increase his prices. And so what we did is we developed a sales process for each new prospective client. So what was happening was the phone would ring, he would answer, they would say, hi, I saw you online. And he would say, oh, great, blah, blah, blah. And then they would say, well, tell me about your stuff. And he would say, well, it's, you know, $1,000 and yeah, you know, and then, okay, great. So in that call, he was not letting them know his value, okay? He was not asking them qualifying questions. What were their needs? Instead, he was in the middle of other things. He was answering the calls. He was rushed, okay? So you have to slow down. You get your inquiry. You meet that inquiry with a response to an invitation to have an interactive, perhaps a Zoom capabilities presentation. You have to be the one who is in power. You have to control the conversation. You have to be the one asking the questions versus allowing that person to ask you the questions. And that's not to say not to answer them, but controlling the conversation is a huge part of sales and how you sort of adapt things, okay? So you get to this presentation. When you are on camera with a prospective person, look the part. Branding is an inside job and it's an outside job too. Mia told us about this the other day. When I get online with you guys, from a presentation perspective, I don't come in my pajamas, right? My lighting is great. My video is great. I make sure that you can hear me. I have a visual for you to watch in addition. This is all by design. Nothing about any of this is an accident. And I need for you to make sure you're very intentional in how you set things up, because people are making decisions about whether they're going to buy from you from the moment you say hello. Truly. So we really need to make sure that all this is dialed up, okay? So we do our presentation, we gather information throughout the presentation, we handle objections, and we close and secure the deal. So this is what we put together. This is an example of a sales presentation. We have a beautiful cover slide. I always tell you, make sure you tell people what you're going to tell them. Then you're going to tell them everything, and then you're going to tell them what you told them. You're going to wrap it up at the end. So the overview was about Tommy, about you. What was it? It's kind of blurry, so I can't see it. Oh, hold on. I can pull it up and I can show it you guys really quick. I put it in here purposely. All right. What time is it? 12:30. All right. We're running out of time here, so I'm going to go as quick as I can, but this is like important stuff, and I don't want to miss this for you guys. So hold on. Let me get out of here, and let me just show you this really quick. Can you guys still see my screen? Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Yes? Okay. I'm going to show you this really, really quick, and we only have another 3 or 4 slides, so just bear with me if you can. We're running over a little bit late, but I think this is really important. So if you can, stick with me for just a moment. Okay, overview about Tommy's artworks. Okay, so I'm going to tell them about Tommy. Wow, look at how impressive Tommy is. Video interview on WRAL, national renowned artist. Look at all these places he's been. Oh, suddenly me spending $2,000 and $3,000 for a painting? Oh, that makes sense. He's been in Our State magazine. He did something for Ben Stiller. So I am showing them, not just telling them, I'm showing them, here's the value and the reason. I've been doing this for 25 years. Then he does an intake. Why do you want it? What's going to be depicted? Where will it be hanging? How much space do you have? Okay. Then we're going to show them the medium choices. Do you want oil realism? Do you want charcoal, acrylic, pastel, colored pencil, watercolors, right? How big do you want it? What canvas depth would you like? How many colors? Here's how we do the approach. This is how I handle this, right? Here's what we're going to need for you to get ready. Okay, here's how the process works. I'm going to need 50% deposit down. Let's get this party started, okay? So we walk them through exactly how it works. And then again, like I told you earlier, we're setting the expectation and we're doing intake. So then at the end we can say, great, when would you like to get started, right? So we're assuming the close, we're moving forward. So with doing this, Tommy saw an incredible increase in his business. And that was a really powerful thing for him because now people could see the value and they're willing to pay for value because they understand what that is, okay? So handling objections. This is going to happen over and over and over again, whether you've been in business for a year or you've been in business for 10 years, okay? You have to expect that people are going to object. They don't know what you know. You have to educate them, okay? And so you have to not be frustrated with it, and you have to understand that, think about where you were at before you ever began your business, okay? You would have had objections and possibly questions too, okay? So you need to think about all the different objections that you hear all the time, okay? And you need to be ready to know what you're going to say each time those common objections come up. I am going to give you my most favorite sales technique to close of all time. This is my favorite. And then I'll get into the close. We'll answer any questions and we'll close this thing out. So here is the best thing ever. Feel, felt, found. I'll say it again. Feel, felt, found. Anything anybody ever throws at you, I understand how you feel, okay? So we empathize first and foremost. So for example, somebody comes in and they don't have the money for something, right? I understand how you feel if that's genuine for you, okay? Either you felt the same way before or you had a customer who felt the same way earlier. And then this is what you found, right? So if it's a money thing, it could be, well, I understand how you feel. When I was evaluating this opportunity, I felt that same way. But here's what I found. I actually found out that it was really important for me to go ahead and make an investment into this. And I actually was able to save some money, you know, with my cable bill, and I saved money on my cell phone bill so that I could make room. You know, perhaps that might be something for you to consider, to be able to, you know, shift some dollars around. You know, if you were able to shift some dollars around, would that make a difference for you in your decision, right? So feel, felt, found. The other thing I would highly encourage you to do is really Google how to handle objections, sales objections. The better you can get and the smarter you can be at handling sales objections, the more times you're going to close, because you're going to be ready. Usually when people like, say, for example, they're like, oh, can I think about it? It's usually that there's a question that they have that they want to go see if they can answer for themselves, and they feel silly asking. So you could say, of course, I understand how you feel. I had somebody who asked me the same thing and felt the same way earlier today, but you know, she found that if she just asked me the question directly, you know, that we would have an answer. So is there another question that perhaps I haven't answered for you? You know, no question is silly. Just go ahead and ask me. So take your time to learn about their objections so you can answer them really well, okay? So finally, the close, you have to ask for the business. If you take nothing else away from today, you have to ask. So that's one of the other biggest things that I find that people don't do, is they don't say, hey, are you ready to get started? Let's get this party started. When do you want to get started? Next Tuesday or next Thursday? What day is better for you? You've got to ask for the business, or you're never going to actually get the business, okay? That's probably one of the most important points I could leave you with. And I hope that the close, which is the final part, and I'm closing, will be really great for you guys. So finally, communicating and selling. Obviously, it's the ultimate goal in your sales, but you know, when you close, that doesn't mean things end. You know, you want to continue to communicate with people. You can cross-sell, you can upsell. Upsell is like, basically, I ordered a small and you asked me if I wanted a large for 99 cents more. Cross-sell says, hey, you want some fries and a drink with that, okay? So I often also find that people are so focused on getting more customers that they do not get enough share of wallet from their current customers. So instead of thinking about going wider, think about going deeper. What are more things you could sell to the people that are already in your basket, okay? Something that is always there. People are always leaving money on the table. So you need to look at that so you can provide opportunities. And so finally, as we close this out, my prayer for you is you make a lot of money. You help as many people as you can. You live your best life with life and work balance, prioritizing family and health. And please keep in touch. Let us know how well you're doing. I would love nothing more than to be in touch with you. Thank you for the honor of being here. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for being vulnerable. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you to Cherith. Thank you to all the Deltas. Thank you to Dr. Tammy and Mia and everybody. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be here and to serve in this way. So thank you.
Wow, y'all, so much information. This is, Marni, that was phenomenal. I want to thank all of you for really investing your time and your business into the 2 days of this Financial Fortitude Summit. I really believe that you will take and apply what you've learned over the last 2 days, and you're going to see results. But I want to take it a step further and ask you to please share your results. If you're still feeling stuck, I want you to come to us. We offer free one-on-one business counseling, and we can help you make sure that you fully understand what we have covered. If you are walking away and on Monday or Tuesday of next week, you are implementing some of the things that we've talked about, I want you to tell us. I want you to shoot a video and send it to us. I want you to tag us on our Facebook page and let us know. I want you to tell your friends and family, because we are paid for by your tax dollars. We exist to help you take your business to the next level and reach your business goals. And folks, other people don't know that we're out there, and the best way that they can find out is from you. So please don't hesitate to let your friends and family know that we are here as a resource to help them start and grow their business. Marni, I took so many notes where you were talking. I love when I get to attend sessions, and I've worked with hundreds of businesses, y'all. And what Marni shared today was not new for me. It's not new information for me, and I still feel like I was able to apply and learn. So Marni, thank you so much for being able to unpack it in a way that was really powerful and meaningful. I think that is so important. Tell the story of how your business is doing. Let us know. We want to know that we are part of your success as a small business owner. Don't forget to use us as a resource. And I'm going to go ahead and put a link to our free counseling in the chat. Elisa, one of our amazing counselors, is right here. Also, our partner with Western Wake Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. Elisa is one of our amazing counselors. You can book a session with her. I will warn you all that my calendar gets really full. So our team of great counselors are going to be an asset for you. You can always send me an email as well if you have a question or you want to talk about things. So I want to wish you all a very happy weekend. Marni, thank you for your time over the last 2 days. Elisa, thank you again for your partnership. We will send out the links for the recordings next week. It'll take Zoom a good probably 24 hours to buffer the video from today. And I'll also ask you for your feedback. What do you want to see in future sessions? What do you want to see from the Small Business Center, and how can we better serve you and your business where you're at? So Elisa, I'm going to let you close this out completely. I know I'm just throwing that on you, and I want you all to make it a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.
And Cherith, you did such a wonderful job closing out things. I just want to say thank you guys for showing up, being there, and investing in your businesses. We look forward to doing, more of these sessions with you. And again, utilize your Small Business Center. We are always here for you. Thank you, Marni. It was great meeting you. And thanks to everyone that showed up. Bye-bye.
Weekend.